Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. The timer did not go off today, but that's okay because we are here and we are live Tuesday, March 24th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got about 15 minutes until we end out this market. We are not really going green on the day. Some things are going green. You've got some stocks that have made a hell of a move today. Unfortunately, the broader S&P 500 is down 653 on the S&P. I think I left when we were at 656, which was basically break even on the day. So we are down 0.3%. Trump just did a press conference. He talked about a bunch of different things. And we'll talk about some of the things he talked about. Once again, the summary is that he is trying to get people to believe this war is coming to an end. You've got a lot of headlines that are disagreeing with him, but nonetheless, the market is not fully on board with this idea that the war is coming to an end. Crude, which was at 94 this morning, is at 91. So at least that has come down a little bit. Still up 4% on the day. The 10-year, unfortunately, has not really budged. We were at 4.4 in the morning. Well, a little bit. We're at 4.38. So small little decline from 4.4. But nonetheless, we are still indeed up on yields for the day. Amcor, great day. That stock's up 8%. I really don't know why it is, but it's up 8%. Tesla, relatively green on the day. Circle, we already talked about that. That leaked bill for the stablecoin Clarity Act, or the Clarity Act, which is not as friendly to stablecoins. Circle is literally a stablecoin company. That stock 18%. That's been the worst day it's had as a public company. That one not really getting any much of a bid. Microsoft still down 3%. Google, I don't know why Google's down 4% on the day. Kind of a bit of a mystery given Meta's only down 1.79%. So not sure. Google now almost down 4% on the day, 290. There's got to be a headline there that we'll see. But Google's down. Shift 4, a little bit of a short squeeze happening today. That's up. Nebius is up a little bit. VG still up 6% on the day, down from 1750, but still up green. Dell's up 7% on the day. SMCI is up 2.7% on the day. A lot of these AI subsidiaries and derivative plays have done well. Unfortunately, the broader AI names like NVIDIA, AMD, they are not doing that well. NVIDIA basically down red 0.34% on the day. Now, we got a bunch of different headlines before we get into the market close. We will have Chris joining in about 40 minutes, and we will talk macro with him. Couple things that I think are really interesting to look at. First of all, I know a bunch of people will be asking about this VCX ticker Fundrise Growth Tech Fund. It is up 63% today. It's up 900% over the past week. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, what is it? It is a closed-end fund with OpenAI and Databricks and SpaceX and Anthropic and all the different private companies. So that's why people are interested in it. But what are people really buying right here? Well, I did some math on this, or I should say AI did some math on it. But when you look at the numbers, it's a bit ridiculous. If you're buying it at these levels, or actually 20% below these levels, because it's up 20% from the time I posted this, you are buying Anthropic at a $4.94 trillion market cap. They just raised at $380 billion, and in the secondaries, they're worth $600 billion. What are people doing? Like, this is honestly not only ridiculous, it's scary, because it's almost like people are like, well, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, they're not doing anything, so I'm going to go buy the most risky asset I could possibly buy in the public or in the private markets and pay a 28 times NAV for that asset. Orbs, by the way, is trading at a significantly lower NAV. That's up 34% of the day. Also, they are an OpenAI proxy. But this is just weird. This is just weird. And the same thing happened with one of these funds, DYXZ, a while ago. That one ended up dumping pretty hard. I mean, I personally wouldn't chase this thing. Yes, the move has happened. And if you got in before it went up 800%, congrats. But the fact that it's holding $308 a share and people are buying it here is implying you're buying Anthropic at a $4.5 trillion valuation. And that's probably a lot more for SpaceX, OpenAI, et cetera, because you're essentially taking a 25x premium to the current valuation and buying the shares that represent that percentage of the fund. I get that people want exposure to some of these companies, but you could buy Amazon and Google and still get the same exposure with a lot less risk. So it is pretty weird. And I think it's kind of indicative of the sentiment around how the public markets have not made people feel like there is gains or possibility for gains. But I don't know if chasing the private markets is the best way to go about that. All right, let's get to Trump. What did he say? A couple clips, held a press conference, basically said, we're going to be okay. I don't know if the market necessarily believes it, but here are some of these clips around Trump saying the war is going to be over soon.
President, are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Say it.
Are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but more NATO. I think our Gulf allies have been pretty good, to be honest with you. UAE's been hit so hard. He got hit by 1,400 rockets, shot them all out of the air with our great Patriot missiles. Think of it, they shot 100 missiles at one of our aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln, one of the biggest ships in the world, actually. And
so once again, Trump making the argument that we have completely annihilated their military. He then talked about negotiations, and he was trying to convince everyone that we are legit in negotiations with Iran.
Yeah, please.
Are you going to send Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to do direct negotiations with the Iranians?
Yeah, well, we're in negotiations, as it turned out, and now you've seen what I said yesterday was exactly correct. We're in negotiations right now. They're doing it along with Marco, JD. We have a number of people doing it. And the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves.
So Trump confirming that we are already in negotiations. I mean, this was kind of a pretty big headline, and the markets moved up a little bit. Nvidia turned green on this, and now things have faded. But when Trump said, no, Marco, JD, and Pete Hegseth are already in negotiations, he then went on to say in the press conference that he himself is also involved in the negotiations along with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. I mean, he's kind of implying that there is a counterparty that we're talking to, and that counterparty absolutely wants to make a deal. The question is, does the market believe that?
Yeah.
What do you think was the turning point to make you want to pursue a ceasefire? A few days ago, you said you wanted to continue bombing Iran. Now you want to pursue peace talks. Was there something that happened?
The fact that they're talking to us and they're talking sense. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
How do you ensure they?
So look, whether you believe him or not is a different question, but Trump basically for the 7th time in 2 days in different media appearances is trying to make the argument that we want this war to come to an end and we are in negotiations. Axios today reported the U.S. and group of regional mediators are discussing the possibility of holding high-level peace talks with Iran as soon as possible, which would also imply this week, in this case, Thursday. Either you think Trump is just saying this to buy himself more time, calm down the credit markets, calm down the oil markets so that they can have a larger strike. There's also reports that have come out in the past couple hours saying that ground troops are absolutely on the way to Iran. We don't have any confirmation of that from the administration. So maybe it's all fake. And maybe he's just saying this for the hell of it, just to be able to buy more time, and the bombing will continue, which is what the Iranians have said. Or there's a lot of people leaking to the media that Trump is looking for an off-ramp. S&P 500 right there taking a dump, 652.92 right at the end of the day. Same thing happened yesterday. And, the people in his administration, high-level officials, want the media to know that we are legit trying to negotiate and get out of this mess. It feels, based on how Trump is saying, I mean, he's legit admitting that we're in negotiations. Either he's flat out lying or we are in negotiations. Maybe they're not super high level. Maybe they're not super formal. Maybe the other side doesn't really know we're negotiating with them, but there's some level of conversation that's taking place. And I guess time's going to tell to see how this ends up playing out. But I don't think the markets are buying it today. I mean, you've got a bit of a stock pickers market right here. The banks are up today based on that leaked draft from CoinDesk on the Clarity Act, because it's bullish for the banks, not bullish for the crypto companies. That's why Coinbase is down, Circle's down, Ondas down 1.8%. Software continues to get wrecked, down 4% on the day based on Anthropic's new product going viral, 40 million views in the past 12 hours. Markets seem to think that's going to take over software once again. But the broader S&P, as we're dumping into the close, we were break even on the day. So it looks like we're not going to get 2 green days in a row. Not buying this idea that the war is ending soon. And that's why we are seeing some more red. VIX at 27. Yeah, VIX was at 27 at around 11:30. Didn't really spike up to 30. Fear and greed is still at 15. So you haven't really seen that get too high. 26.99 right there, up 3.2% of the day. Adobe got wrecked today. Salesforce continues to get wrecked. ServiceNow, Adobe right here at the lows of 2026. ServiceNow was 124 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 104, down 5.6%. I mean, just a weird day. You have Shift 4 that's pumping for a short squeeze based on their float being harder to borrow. And then you have Circle dumping 18%. Gold and silver basically flat. Microsoft basically at the low of 2026 as well. Google, I still don't get why Google's down 3.8% of the day. Just weird. Just a very weird day. And oil relatively flat. And then you got this headline by Amazon. They bought a humanoid robotics company. It's called Fauna Robotics. These bots cost $50,000 a piece. And the goal is for them to compete with Tesla, Figure, and Eptronic. We don't have a amount on how much they spent for this. Obviously, Amazon is no stranger to continue to make investments, but they're buying. And I guess we're going to see if that ends up becoming one of the bigger parts of Amazon business. Let me know in the chat what people did. Did you buy, sell? Did you roll covered calls? Obviously, again, yesterday was a good day to sell some of those calls. Today, in certain stocks, continued to be a decent day. A lot of those names have held on to at least some of their gains, which is allowing the premiums to kind of stay strong. Meta, unfortunately, losing the 600s, 592, down 1.8. What is the headline on Google? Google doesn't just drop 4% in a day randomly. By the way, these are the Max 7 drawdowns year to date from the highs. Apple's down 12, Google's down 14, Nvidia's down 17, Amazon down 18, Tesla down 23, Meta down 24, Microsoft is now down 31% from the highs. So absolutely ugly drawdowns. Most of these are pretty much in a bear market, and it looks ugly. Also, we got a headline from the Wall Street Journal. Ironically, we were talking about this in the morning. I mentioned it very briefly. I said, what happened to Sora? Wall Street Journal says OpenAI is going to discontinue Sora, which is kind of crazy. We are not having Technical Tuesday. Jason can't make it today, but we will be back with him on Wednesday. I mean, it makes sense, dude. Who was using Sora, and how many GPUs were they burning for OpenAI for a product that was making them literally $0? I mean, unless they could advertise, but realistically, how many people want to scroll through AI slop all day and then click on ads in between it? Like, it just sounded like a disaster, which should be a good thing for Adobe, right? I mean, that, like, even just perceptually, that should help Adobe, but it didn't. Adobe still down about 3.5% on the day. Sora was basically their AI TikTok, for those that never heard of it. And, the Martin Luther King estate got pretty upset because people started taking his likeliness and made him say a bunch of weird stuff. And, like, it just felt ridiculous that they would let people make these celebrities say whatever they want. I mean, technically kind of legal, but obviously not really the best content. And so they had so many different complaints already over the past couple of months. It makes sense that they're taking that down. By the way, the OpenAI S1, parts of it, the S1 is the document you publish when you're ready to go public. Parts of it have leaked. And one of the main things that people are highlighting, and this is also part of the reason Microsoft might be down on the day along with the software sell-off, is that OpenAI says Microsoft is one of our biggest risks as a company, which was interesting for them to say. They're kind of mentioning, hey, Microsoft owns a lot of us. If they decide to do this, or they switch, how they're thinking of their Azure credits, or they maybe don't make us the exclusive partners anymore for certain products they have, like GitHub Copilot, which they've already done. They've started working with Anthropic, and that could be a risk for their business. And, time will tell if that is going to meaningfully result in anything for OpenAI. Tesla right there, 382, getting a little bit of a red candle. We got 40 seconds until we end out on the day. Looks like we are going to go right to where we opened at. S&P opened at 652. And we are going to close at 652. I see a bunch of people said they bought Microsoft today, some Zeta, cash secured puts, Lane with some covered calls. A lot of people said they did nothing. A couple of people said they bought Tesla. Pretty much the same stuff, either buying what you know or just holding on tight and waiting until the broader markets can recover. 653 on the S&P. We had that bounce to 657 during the morning. Trump retweeted something that was kind of bullish. CNN pumped a headline around peace talks, and then it kind of faded away, contributing to the choppy nature of this stock market. Tuesday, March 24th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. All right, we are done for the day. Markets are closed. By the way, I rewatched part of the market open today, and I came to the section with the bell. I don't know why you guys muted. It wasn't that bad. It was actually very I don't know. I felt kind of energized when I was listening to it. So for those that muted, I mean, I get it. It's a little loud, but I'm just saying, when this is the first day in a while that I actually re-listened to that 9:30 open. I like the bell. I don't know. I thought it was okay. Celsius, that one was down 7% on the day, recovered a little bit from that 35 level, still at 37, down 6.75% of the day. Again, that's from the Costco fears of Kirkland Energy taking them out of business. Adobe was down 3.4%. Nvidia was down 0.25%. S&P 500 down 0.32%. Amcor, don't know why that pumped, but that was up 9% of the day. Grabby Grab, first big 4% day in what feels like about a month, but nice to see Grab right there, 379 on the day. Again, they accelerated their buyback program. and Anthony Tan got 75% super voting shares. Two things that are pretty bullish for the future of that company. Tesla right there, 383, basically flat on the day. Gold also flat. Meta, 592, that was down. Google was down about 3.85%. Nebius got an upgrade from Bank of America to 150. That was also up on the day slightly. CoreWeave also 1.29%, as that was green as well. GLW Corning got some love, 8.49%. Oh, the photonics plays exploded today. AAOI up 19%. Lumentum was up 10%. Coherent was up 6.76%. I mean, these names go up like crazy. They also go down like crazy. So you've got to really be able to deal with the momentum. But if you believe in that AI supply chain bottleneck, I mean, this is what we saw with the memory names last year and even this year to an extent, although they have taken a breather. Micron ended red on the day, down 2%. Forward PE in 2028 of 2.5. I guess the market's kind of moved on from memory as the bottleneck in the supply chain, and now they're on optics. And maybe that trend continues, maybe it doesn't, but those stocks absolutely exploded today. Micron was down, and then SanDisk also from 770 down to 702. That was at 680 at one point. That was also down. OpenAI, Sam Altman would focus on raising capital, supply chains, and building data centers at unprecedented scale. Altman said OpenAI had completed the initial development of its next major AI model, codenamed SPUD. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has relinquished direct oversight of the company's safety and security teams. Wow. So the CEO is now not responsible for oversight of safety and security. Interesting. He would still focus on raising capital and building data centers, and they have their new AI model codenamed SPUD that is ready to release. All right, I guess OpenAI might be doing some leadership transitions in terms of at least the responsibilities that they have, even if he is not going to be doing some of the same stuff that he did. GameStop does have earnings today. Let's see. Oh, that's down. Okay, GameStop down 4%. Let's see if we can get those numbers. I don't even know if GameStop does an earnings call anymore. They usually just put out a press release. GameStop missed on revenue. They beat on EPS. This is actually a big beat, 32% beat, 49 cents versus 37 cents. This is another name that Michael Burry has been very excited about. Revenue, they've missed by 25%. Okay, so revenue is an ugly miss, 1.1 versus 1.47 billion. That's down 14% year over year. EPS is up 64% year over year. They beat that by 32%. Does anyone own GameStop in the chat? Is anyone in GME? By the way, ARM, they are really putting out some aggressive targets on chip sales. Sees 15 billion in annual sales with the new chips. ARM was freaking $100 a month ago. ARM is at 140 now, up 4% after hours based on that headline. It was up last week as well. So ARM becoming a larger competitor in the chip space. Obviously not doing as much as NVIDIA or AMD, but they also are not worth as much as those two companies. ARM right there at $143 billion market cap. That's up 4% of the day. GameStop is down 3.7%. 3.7%. Yeah, is literally anyone in GameStop? I see a few people saying yes, but seems like not the majority. Not the majority. 2284. I thought earnings were over. I mean, there's like a couple of companies that have earnings left. But let me see. This week is Chewy, GameStop, Jeffries, Beyond Meat, and then we have Nike on the 31st. After that, then you're pretty much done. Then in 2 weeks, then we start banks and airlines. Then we keep going from there. ELF is also down 5% on the day. Did it fall? ELF? We didn't look at it in the morning. Yeah, ELF was down 6%. Wow. Wow. ARM sees total revenue growing fivefold to 25 billion within 5 years. Dude, doesn't ARM only does like 3 or 4 billion a year, if I'm not wrong. Or is that a quarter? No, it's 4 billion a year. Wow. I mean, that's kind of impressive. ARM is, I think, one of the better semiconductor stocks this year. Year to date, yeah, it's up 17%. It's not like the memory names, but now it's up 20% with the after hours move. So that's a pretty important disclosure by ARM. That's getting some love. Again, if you just joined, the reason I think we read on the day is because there were more headlines around the war continuing. Trump tried to calm people down in a press conference he did, saying that the war is already over. I mean, he literally said, I'll pull up the clip where he said the war is over, we've already won, and that we are in negotiating status. But I don't think the market believes him. Also, he said we can have control over the Strait of Hormuz whenever we want.
Negotiating on who's going to control the strait from now on?
No, we'll have control of anything we want. Look, if we can end this without more lives being down, without knocking out $10 billion electric plants that are brand new and the apple of their eye, I'd like to be able to do that, you know?
I mean, listen to how he's talking. If we could end this without bombing their power plants, that's what we'd like to do. I really don't think he's just saying it for the sake of saying it so that he can buy time to then bomb the power plants. And maybe I'll be dead wrong, but I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to look for an off-ramp. Maybe there's people in the administration that want to do that, but I don't think he does. And I don't know if he has the right counterparty to help him negotiate. The Iranians are demanding a lot of stuff, including reparations and promises that we'll never do this again and all this type of stuff. And I don't know if he's going to agree to any of that. But yeah, nonetheless, his tone, at least, if that's all we can judge him by, his tone and the words he's saying, it does feel like he wants to not make this happen. And yes, I am speculating on that, but time will tell to see how this plays out. Axios got another report just now. The U.S. has developed a 15-point plan to end the Iran war and claims that Iran has agreed to many of their key points. Okay, so before we even get into this, who the hell is giving Axios this information? I don't think it's a coincidence that every other day they're getting a new peace plan framework. Someone in the administration is leaking this stuff. Proposal includes many of the same demands the U.S. made during the last round of nuclear talks in Geneva. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff told Trump that Iran has agreed on giving up their stockpile of highly enriched uranium. The document calls for zero uranium enrichment in Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is concerned Trump might strike a deal that falls well short of Israel's objectives as Iran continues to deny that talks are taking place. Okay, this might be fake. This absolutely might be fake. But, if it's not fake and they actually do want to make a deal, then maybe they are negotiating. And look, all we need is a real sniff of the market thinking a deal is coming close. I mean, honestly, we've already gotten that since the Sunday futures. Otherwise, we would be below 640 by now. If we get a real legit sniff that, yeah, a deal is coming, we're going to price that in way quicker than it's announced and then move forward from here. But, right now the market is just not fully believing that. Celsius right there at 37.04. Robinhood is up after hours. Is it? Robinhood is getting a 1% move after hours. Is that a glitch? Or do we have something legit here? Chris will be on it in about 15 minutes. Robinhood closed below 70 today. I don't see any headlines. Wow, Robinhood approves $1.5 billion share buyback. Well, that makes sense because, the stock is down a lot. However, they already had a lot of money to deploy on buybacks. They already had, 800 million? So they doubled that basically to 1.5 billion. I don't know if the market's going to care that much. That objectively as a shareholder, that's fine. They already have a ton of money to buy the dip. So them saying, hey, we'll just keep buying the dip. I don't know if the market's like, okay, we love that, given there's more structural reasons why Robinhood's down. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to bump it. It's definitely giving it a little bit of move after hours. I think that would be faded until, there's like a real sentiment change in the broader markets right now. That's what Robinhood is dealing with. 69.08 up a little bit right here after hours, but that's not bad. That's not bad. 1.5 billion. At least Robinhood themselves thinks they're deeply undervalued. And, as a result, they're going to be taking advantage of this. Sora just confirmed that they will be discontinued in an X post. Let me see if I can pull that up. But yep, we reported that from the Wall Street Journal. GME, we already looked at their earnings. They missed on revenue by 14%. They beat on EPS. That stock is now up 1.3% after hours. It was down originally. And now you're seeing it start to make a bit of a rebound. Sora, yep, here it is. We're saying goodbye to Sora, to everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it. Thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. We'll share more soon, including timelines for the app, API, and details on preserving your work. Okay, Sora is officially done. Robinhood up 1% after hours. I put in a limit order for CRM at 183 and accidentally bought 183 shares instead. Well, Mr. Matt Hollis, you are now the proud owner of 183 shares of Salesforce. What price did you get it at? Like 183.10 or something? Well, there you go. Look, down 6% of the day, 40% for the year. Maybe that is a good buy. I do not know what happened with Amcor today. I don't. Amcor, though, is green, up 8%. It was one of the smaller semi-names that took a bid today. And not exactly sure why. Pays, this is another stock that had earnings. They're up 12%, 40% increase in revenue. Let me pull them up right here. Paysign, small company, $207 million, but they did have earnings. They're now up 15% after hours. Reaffirms adjusted EBITDA guidance, increases adjusted EBITDA by 150%, and then revenue is up 40%, 14% up after hours off a beat on EBITDA and revenue. As that is green. Yeah, we got the hood news. Buybacks, again, don't know how much the street is going to care about that, but it is almost a doubling of the current amount. They already bought 2 million shares, I think, in February at $84. So it looks like they're just going to continue to buy the dip. And look, Hood has almost $5 billion cash, so they have a lot of money. They've done tons of acquisitions. It's not like they're just sitting on their cash. So, I mean, it makes sense that management feels that there's a better opportunity for them to deploy that capital instead. Palantir right there ended on the day down about 3.7% with the software sell-off, 154.78, up a little bit after hours. Vertiv was also up about 5.8% of the day. They are now in the S&P 500 as well. And Circle, yes, was down 20%. Did you see the Revolut numbers? I did. Those were actually, so Revolut's a private company, $75 billion valuation. The numbers they put up actually looked like their valuation is a bit more reasonable. I still don't think it would hold a $75 billion valuation in the public markets. It's definitely going to IPO at $100 billion for sure. But record revenue, they have $6 billion. That's up 46% year over year. Profit is almost $3 billion. They have 1 million customers joining every 17 days, 70 million customers worldwide. I think that is going to be Europe's next. I mean, this is already Europe's largest private tech company in terms of valuation. I would imagine it's going to surpass Spotify over time, or at least match Spotify. And well, what's Spotify's market cap? Spotify is at 99. Yeah, Revolut's not that far away. It's 75 billion. CoreWeave down a little bit right there after hours. Okay, let's get some other perspectives and some ideas. Chris will be on a little bit. We have some other macro news to get through. Let's hear from Liz Thomas. We haven't heard from her in a bit. She does not really think it's the time yet to buy the dip.
Good message behind what's happening over in the Middle East.
I didn't hear anything in the comments that the Strait is open. So the supply shock remains. And if it really was over, we wouldn't have this supply shock anymore and everything that had already pressured markets. And actually the market reaction since the comments we just heard has been benign. I mean, Brent's still above 100. It's at 104 and rising since that conversation ended. We've got a market that I think has not priced in what could still get worse. And it appears that perhaps it is going to get worse later this week, maybe next week, if we're sending troops over to the Middle East. So perhaps the conflict continues to escalate before it finally de-escalates. Really what we need to see is that the Strait of Hormuz is open again and this supply shock can go away.
So that's all that matters to you at this point.
That's not all that matters, but
well, you know what I mean. It's like that's the most important thing to the market.
That's what
open the Strait, and the stock market will be fine. Oil prices will come down. Without that happening, you just don't believe the other stuff makes a market enough difference in the direction of the market.
I don't think it's convincing enough. And I think we're seeing that right now. We can make all the comments we want. I don't think it's convincing enough until the supply shock has been somewhat remediated.
All right, let me ask you this. So and in that light, you know, Barclays raises their target today on the S&P.
We got a headline from Israeli Channel 12. That's like the biggest media source in Israel. I don't know if this is true. We'll get back to Liz in a second, but I mean, if it is true, we'll see. A ceasefire for a period of 1 month will be announced, according to a mechanism that Witkoff and Kushner are working on. Israeli media reporting that a ceasefire for a period of 1 month will be announced within the coming days as Witkoff and Kushner are working on a deal. Is the market reacting to that at all? Not really. Very small green candle after hour. I mean, I don't know, dude. 1 month's better than nothing. Maybe. Now, I don't think Israel will want to have an indefinite ceasefire because obviously they want to, get their strategic objectives resolved and they would want to keep fighting. I don't think the Iranians want 1 month. I think Iranians just want this thing to end if they actually, are negotiating with the right people. And Trump obviously wants it to end. But a ceasefire for a month just creates more instability and uncertainty for a month. Now, I imagine the market rips if that's like official. But I also imagine people sell the rip if they think in a month this is not going to be resolved. Another update from Israeli Channel 12, the agreements with Iran is very similar to the understandings in Gaza and Lebanon. I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is Israel's largest media outlet, so definitely the market will pay attention when they say this stuff, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case. No reaction to that yet from the market.
Right, to 76.50. Okay, they were at 7,400. And they say the following: macro risks are rising, right? That they're not naive to the things that are out there. They talk about a lot what you do. Middle East war, so you have AI disruption, private credit stress, but the U.S. still leads on nominal growth and tech-led secular tailwinds. We're incrementally bullish on the profit outlook. They raised their earnings estimates and their price target, as I said, on earnings, not multiples, but risks skew to the left. Do you disagree with that?
I mean, this is probably not a moment when I'd be raising my expectations.
Israeli Channel 12 just published the document of the 15 points that Axios was working on. I'll see if I can get the actual official document because we haven't read the official document yet. But it looks like they officially published it, or at least it's reported that they published it. So let's see if we can find those 15 pain points of what they're agreeing to.
Broadly on earnings. I do agree that the tech story is really still in place. I don't see anything necessarily about this war that's going to slow down AI CapEx. So I think that story, we came into the year with that story. It got stronger as the year went on. Announcements and guidance by companies got stronger. I don't think this changes that picture. So to the extent that tech is responsible for the majority of earnings in the S&P, I understand the take that we expect it to stay strong, maybe even rise a little bit because of guidance. However, the market trends coming into this year were rotational. They were cyclical. They were not favoring tech. They beat software down, right, to the death. So I don't think we're going to go back to those trends. I think this conflict has lasted long enough now that we're not going to just easily go. We're in week 4. In the first couple weeks, I was saying, you know what, if this de-escalates, we'll go back to where we were before. All those trends sort of stay in place. We're still cyclically bullish. Everybody.
Why would that change now? I mean, if it de-escalates now, why would all that go away if earnings expectations and estimates are still intact? That's what matters more than anything else, right? And until that changes, why should we change our view?
Well, it might change, and I guess that's the next step of this. So I don't think it will change for tech companies, but it might change for other companies. So even if this conflict de-escalates now, damage has been done. There have been facilities that have been damaged. The supply perhaps could come back online if the strait is reopened, but there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be restored, and that's going to take time. So I don't think oil prices go back down to where they were before this all began.
But the market will move well ahead of that, right? If there's a headline, we both know how this works. If there's a headline that says ships are now passing through the Strait of Hormuz,
absolutely,
market rip, oil plunge, and people are going to say, okay, the worst case was avoided. Didn't last as long as the worst fears have had. Let's get back to business and focus on what matters.
I agree with that. I mean, I get Liz's argument that if we have a ceasefire and the war is over to an extent, there are a lot of things that have already been damaged, and that's going to take time to work out. But I think the market's going to price that stuff out way quicker than the time it takes for stuff to change. So, I don't think the bearish sentiment around the war ending, I think it's logical, but I don't think practically that's what happens. I mean, there was a lot of damage that happened when we announced all the tariff stuff, but as soon as we reversed, the market ripped, and then we kind of dealt with it over time. But I think the market moves up if that happens. By the way, DOCN, DigitalOcean, that's down 7% after hours. They just filed for raising more capital. This is like the 8th company in the past 2 weeks that has filed for secondaries or filed for what do you call it? Convertible notes. And that's what we're seeing. Whoa! What's happening? What's happening? What is happening? We are greeny green. What did Trump say? Trump didn't say anything. There's no tweet. Cactus, what happened? Cactus, what happened? S&P. This better not be a glitch, bro. This better not be a glitch. Is it NVIDIA too or just the S&P? Nope. NVIDIA's up 2. Meta's up 2. Google's up 2. Guys, what happened? VG dropping. Is it the Israeli Channel 12 thing? We just talked about that. Is that really what the market's reacting to? Let's talk about a delayed reaction, dude. Dude, I mean, that's one of the biggest media outlets in Israel. It's a big deal if they're saying supposedly there's a 1-month ceasefire coming. Is that really what the market's reacting to? I don't. What do you guys think? Is that it? You guys saying yes? Dude, that's a 5-minute delay. Legit 5-minute delay. Like, you would think that would be instantaneous. Look at her go. Look at that. That's a really, dude, this is the app. 658. Give us 659. Let's get 659. 658.50. NVIDIA's up 1%. Meta's up 1%. Amcor's up. Vertiv is up. Spotify's up. Microsoft's up 1%. Robinhood's up 2%. Oil is down. Let me try to get the exact price on the futures for oil, or not the futures, but just the price itself. 658. We hit 659 for a second. Silver just popped 1%. Gold just popped 0.5%. Oil is crude is below 90, 89.40, below 90. Below 90, 89.49, correct. I think it's the Channel 12 Israel news. I think it is. Let me see if Bloomberg's reporting on that as well, then that means it's definitely the Israel thing. Mint News beat the market. That was Cactus Jack beat the market. Thank you for the super chat. Shout out to Cactus freaking Jack. He's quicker than the market, guys. Like, he is legit quicker than the market. Look at that. Now let's see if we can hold it. Let's see if we can hold it. 658.17. Trump tweet has to come soon, right? There's no way Trump's looking at the market right now and not thinking that he should tweet and capitalize on this. Negotiations on the 15 points will take place within a 1-month ceasefire as per Israeli Channel 12. If that's the headline, that is enough, at least for now, to make it happen. All right, Cactus is getting me these 15 terms of the agreement. I think he has about 9 of them, so I'm going to read them off. These are the supposed peace, like tenets of the framework to get to a ceasefire. Number 1, Iran pledged to never pursue possession of nuclear weapons. Number 2, Iran is prohibited from the enrichment of any nuclear materials on Iranian soil. Number 3, Iran has to hand over the enriched uranium to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Number 4, Iran will grant the International Atomic Energy Agency full access to all information. Number 5, Iran has to abandon the proxy approach, aka bombing Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. Number 6, Iran will halt the funding and arming of militias in the region. Number 7, Iran will keep the Strait of Hormuz open without any closure. Number 8, Iran will postpone the decision regarding the ballistic missile program. Number 9, the U.S. will lift all sanctions imposed on Iran. Wow. Holy guacamole, 659.30 now. That's going to be giving a lot of money to the Iranians if we've had sanctions on them for the past decade. Lifting all sanctions? Are you serious? That is crazy. Number 10, the U.S. will provide support for the development of a civilian nuclear program in Iran. And then number 11, number 11 just says the Americans agree to halt firing for a month, and then after a month they'll decide if they can go. So these are all the tenets of a ceasefire for a month. The next one I'm seeing is that the American mechanism aims to halt the fire for a month, which obviously, if things go well after that month, I imagine it'll be extended for a long time. But those are some pretty big pretty freaking big concessions that not only we're giving as the United States, but also the Iranians. I mean, the Iranians are saying we're going to give up our nukes and we're going to give up any potential to build nukes. If this is true, we don't know if Iran agreed. This is Israeli Channel 12, the biggest media outlet in Israel, reporting 15, and I'm still missing 4 of them, 15 terms of the agreement for a potential ceasefire that theoretically will be announced. I mean, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. What is the source of this? Israeli Channel 12. Israeli Channel 12. This is not Bloomberg, not CNN, not Fox, not any U.S. media entity, not Reuters. This is all Israel. But it's enough to give us a pump right here. Once again, Trump spent a lot of time today trying to convince people that they absolutely are coming close to a deal. If this is true, and maybe it's fake, but if this is true, then maybe Trump was serious that they're coming close to a deal, and that's why the markets are reacting. S&P's up, Meta's up, NVIDIA, look at her go, 177. Amcor down a little bit, Salesforce is up, Microsoft is up, the photonics plays are up, the banks are up, Palantir is up 1.25%. ARM, they increased their guidance by 5x. That stock deserves to be up right now. 145, up 7.4% on the day. Bitcoin not making a move. Or is it? I mean, it's, well, no, it is. I'm looking at the wrong. No, yeah, Bitcoin was at 69.5. We're at 70. No, we made a move. We're down for the day, but we still made a move. Yeah, so Bitcoin's up $500. That's seeing something happen. Oil just dropped 4% in the last 15 minutes. Crude is now below, are we below 89? Wow, 87. I mean, are we back? Are we actually back? Is it happening? You know why it's happening? It's because I wore the green hoodie today. We needed some blistering green. I wasn't going to wear it today. I just threw it on because I had to go outside to do something. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep it on. Robinhood announces a buyback after I wear this hoodie. I mean, maybe this is the hoodie. We cannot take this damn thing off. Here is what the CFO said on Robinhood. Robinhood is a generational company with a massive long-term opportunity. This authorization of $1.5 billion reflects the confidence of our management team and our board and our ability to continue delivering innovative products for customers and creating value for shareholders. Robinhood previously announced a $1 billion share repurchase program in May of 2024. Through this program, we have given back $1.1 billion to shareholders, buying back 25 million shares at approximately $45 a share. Management currently expects to execute the refresh $1.5 billion authorization over approximately the next 3 years. So they had $400 million left. They basically more than tripled that to $1.5 billion, and they will buy back $1.5 billion of stock over the next 3 years. Dude, are we actually back? We touched 660. Now we're at 656. So we're not holding on to the massive pump we had, but it's still a big move after hours. 0.5% is something, right? It's just a report on a temporary ceasefire. I want to be bullish too, but it doesn't fix anything big picture. I mean, look, if the ceasefire is legit and all of these terms, I agree with you. The ceasefire itself is a whatever. That's nothing, right? Countries have ceasefires all the time. But if these terms that I just read, if you didn't hear me, just rewind 5 minutes, you'll listen to them again. If these terms are legit, and there is no legitimacy yet because Trump and Iran have to agree to them and publicly announce them. But if they are, and we're taking off all the sanctions, and Iran is legit giving up all their nukes, I mean, I think the market's going to be happy about that. Obviously, until there's any confirmation, it's going to be choppy once again, and we could see this fade pretty quickly. Oil, 88.70, so up a little bit from the lows, but still down from 92, which is where it closed. And the S&P is making that move. Let me see if anyone's covering this. Let's see if CNN is covering this. Where's Chris, by the way? Did Chris fall asleep? Chris was supposed to be here. If Chris wakes up to this, he's going to have to kind of see these headlines and understand what happened here. No one's covering it. CNBC's not covering it. Fox isn't covering it. Bloomberg's not. It's kind of, dude, I mean, look, this is a big media publication in Israel. There was a 5-minute delay after we talked about it on the show versus the market reacting to it. But you would think you would have some of the other mainstream business channels actually cover this. They're talking about stable coins right now. They're not talking about this. Wow, OpenAI to wind down to the Disney partnership less than 3 months after announcing it. I feel so vindicated. I was at my parents' house. I went back, was in the basement because I knew the internet was going to be bad in my apartment. That's when the deal broke. That's when we were analyzing it. A lot of you guys were with me that morning, and I went on a 25-minute rant about why the Disney partnership was stupid. Why? Because I said immature people are going to make Mickey Mouse say some stuff that he shouldn't be saying. That simple. And what do you know? 3 months later, maybe Mr. Sam Altman agrees with me. Honestly, I'm happy about that because I didn't want my childhood to be ruined by people's imaginations with AI. So it makes sense. OpenAI to wind down the Disney partnership. They're also closing up Sora. S&P, can we hold on to it? We're already fading from 660, folks. Crude back up to 89. What is this freaking market? I don't know. I don't know if this Israel thing is going to be seen as legit. It was for a couple minutes. But as of now, we're holding on to half of that pump. Half of that pump. Who spiked a mid-string? No, the Disney thing, I actually feel vindicated on. Because there was a bunch of you in the chat that did like, it's not a big deal. It's just an AI and Disney. It's like inevitable. And I was like, no, guys. Why would anyone give timeless characters the ability to do some really weird things because people have horrible imaginations? Like it made zero sense that Disney would ruin their IP by letting people's imaginations turn these characters into whatever. Like it just made no sense. Like it's just weird. And so I feel like now the market agrees that was kind of stupid. OpenAI, they spent freaking 30 minutes on CNBC announcing that partnership with Bob Iger. And it looks like that's going away. NVIDIA right there, 176.65 Meta. Still up 1%. Still no major media outlets covering this. Trying to get more updates on this Israeli thing. We're not seeing Reuters reported either. We need the other business publications to report this, which I think they did, and that caused the pump. S&P now moving again back to 658. Just absolutely playing with us here. Yeah, DigitalOcean is down. They're doing another offering. That's why that stock is down. VG is down almost 2% after hours. Circle still down after hours. Nvidia's up a little bit. I mean, 1 or 2% moves on Nvidia. It's common, but after hours means that there's something that's causing that to take place. Robinhood $70 after hours, up 2%. And then SPY still moving, 0.75. The SPY is not over the 200-day moving average yet. No, not yet. What was the headline? The headline is Israel's Channel 12, which is their biggest media publication, is reporting that a ceasefire is close to being agreed to between the U.S., Iran, and Israel, and there are 15 tenets to this ceasefire. I read them all out a couple minutes ago, but the two biggest ones are Iran will give up all of their nuclear weapons and ability to create nuclear weapons, and the U.S. is getting rid of all sanctions imposed on Iran. Let me ask Gemini, how much money is Iran losing based on the U.S. sanctions on it? Let's see if we can get a rough estimate. Okay. I don't know if this is Gemini. This is not me. Gemini is saying $1 trillion of economic damage has happened. 300 billion in potential oil revenues. Okay, so that's a little bit more legit. So 300 billion in oil revenues have been lost by Iran because of these sanctions, which I guess if you extrapolate that, yeah, that could be in the trillions of broader economic damage. But 300 billion is the amount of revenue over the past 12 years they could have been able to make. Dude, if we're getting rid of sanctions, we haven't gotten rid of sanctions in a long time. That's a lot of money that's going to be coming to Iran. If we do that without regime change, that's also, I think, going to maybe rub people the wrong way, because then we're giving 300 billion to the Ayatollah just for the promise that he won't ever build a nuclear weapon. I mean, we better be damn sure they are never building a nuke if we're going to give them all that money. But that does mean oil should come down a lot, bro. I mean, if we are opening up not only the Strait of Hormuz, which would take oil down, But if we are actually allowing Iran to now sell into the global environment, the global markets with their oil, right now they're only reserved to selling to a few actors. If they are able to sell to everybody as those sanctions get released, I mean, that is not a small thing. S&P going right back up 658.73 after hours. Oil should come under 70. Yes, if that's like a legit thing, I would imagine oil at least gets closer to 80. I mean, we were below 80 2 weeks ago. 88.28 oil now starting to come down as well. Iran already agreed to this in 2015. So that, yes, theoretically, the Iran nuclear deal with the United States in 2015 had some of these same premises. There was a lot of critiques of that deal. There was a lot of praising of that deal. But regardless of getting into the politics of that deal was ripped up by Trump in 1.0 in 2017. So, I mean, until we get a new agreement, we are, I guess we're not going to fully see what happens. Again, let me read off some of these terms. Iran will grant the IEA full access to all information. Iran will hand over enriched uranium to the IEA. Iran will prohibit the enrichment of nuclear materials on Iranian soil. Iran will pledge to never pursue the possession of nuclear weapons. Iran will postpone the decision regarding the ballistic missile program. Iran will only allow ballistic missiles being used for defense. And the U.S. will lift all sanctions on Iran, along with providing support for the development of a civilian nuclear program in the region. ARM up 7% after hours. CrowdStrike, that's moving as well, up 1%. I mean, everything's moving. Robinhood is up 2%. Meta's up 1%. Rocket Lab is also up 1.3%. Let me do a poll. How many people believe this? Let's do a poll in the chat. How many people believe this ceasefire being reported by the Israelis is real? We need to get over 665, dude. Until we get over 665, I mean, at least we are over 652 right now, but we actually need a real candle. Because these like 0.5, 0.7% moves, they just get faded every time. As exciting as they are, especially in the after hours, they get faded. Do you believe the Israel ceasefire news is true? I mean, it would coincide with everything Trump's been saying about we have a deal, unless this is fake, and then everything that Trump has been saying is fake as well. Let me see if CNBC is covering this. We need to see if anyone else is picking up this news. 60% of you say no, 60-40, which means 60% of you would obviously not buy into the strength. Oh, KB Homes had earnings. That's what they're covering right now. KBH, that stock is down 5%. They missed on revenue, obviously, because, well, the housing market is not a good spot. Dude, mortgage rates were inching back above 6.5% today. I mean, they were almost under 6. I mean, they were under 6 for a little bit, and now they're right back. S&P 660 once again. 660 once again. Is the ceasefire in the room with us? Oh my gosh. Ori says this 15-point agreement was published in Israel on Channel 12 television 2.5 hours ago. So Ori is from Israel. Ori, so I imagine you saw that. Well, it looks like American media is picking that up right now. It looks like American media is picking that up right now. Gianna, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for your message. I went short on oil with 300 euros. Now I'm up 340%. Congratulations. That means you shorted it at what, 90, 91? Made a nice quick 340%. Goodness, dude. I'm just reporting what I see. And we talked about it 5 minutes before the street reacted to it, which it was kind of weird that the street wasn't reacting to it because I'm not from Israel, but I know Channel 12 is their version of, I guess you could say their version of Reuters and Bloomberg together, even though they're more political, not just business. So it's a pretty big outlet. If they're talking about a ceasefire, it should be at least discussed by the broader market. Yeah, now you got the big accounts. You have a 2.7 million follower account on X who just tweeted it. Okay, so it's not just now it's being picked up, folks. Now it's being picked up. We will not have Technical Tuesday today. It's going to be Technical Wednesday. Jason couldn't make it today. Chris was supposed to make it. I think Chris fell asleep. But that's okay because we have we had a lot to cover. Yeah, look at this. This is being picked up now. This is being picked up. Oh my goodness. Greatest show on earth. Greatest show on earth. These are the 15. I'll link this in the chat. These are the 15 clauses for those that want to read them. These are the 15. Yeah, Chris wasn't. No, wasn't Chris? Chris was in the chat at freaking like 3:45 because he was commenting saying that the private valuation is crazy. Where the hell did this guy go? I sent him the link. But there it is. Those are the 15. Those are the 15 premises. This is ridiculous, dude. Why isn't CNBC saying anything? I don't know. Bloomberg's not saying anything either. I'm trying to see if CNN, Fox, any of them. Markets are still reacting, though, without the mainstream media guys reacting to this. CNN did report this morning that the Trump administration is in heavy negotiations with Iran, and Trump kind of confirmed that when he was talking a couple hours ago. 6:57:65. They want to confirm first this could be fake. Well, look, the Israeli Channel 12 reporting it could be fake, but Israeli Channel 12 is also not a small media publication. So, and if Ori's right, they reported this 2.5 hours ago, then I guess the American media is just realizing that this was reported, which is kind of crazy, dude. You would think if a ceasefire has legit terms to the agreement, these 15 terms, you would think the media would pick up on that way quicker than before. Where did Channel 12 get it from? I mean, they have their own sources. Now, maybe their sources are wrong, but the whole point of a media publication is that if it's big enough to report it, then it should be going through. All right, we're gonna have Sam join us. Let me send the link to Sam, and we'll get his thoughts on this. Markets are still up 0.5%. Again, I'm not saying Israeli Channel 12 is like the best media source in the world, but the point is that they have a lot of influence, right? It's like even when like CNN today pumped the markets, and you know, a lot of people don't trust CNN, but when they say something, because of the just pure scale of distribution they have, you know, it's gonna make headwaves. And so maybe that is happening here. Rocket Lab is up 1%, Robinhood up 1.8 on the buyback, Nvidia's up 1%, SPY still up 0.5%. If all this is true, why would Trump send troops to the Middle East? That is a good question. I don't have the answer to that question, but there are plenty of reports that, you know, troops are being sent to the Middle East, which definitely is confusing. Absolutely is confusing. CNBC, Bloomberg still not covering it. I think also some pretty big news after hours again. Disney and OpenAI end their collaboration, and OpenAI and Sora. So two big parts of what OpenAI was trying to do in the media and entertainment space officially have ended. And maybe OpenAI is more focused on the enterprise, which matters a lot more and is way more monetizable than Mickey Mouse saying random stuff. So I actually think that's bullish for OpenAI, but it does look like those two things are potentially not happening. S&P up 0.7%. Damn.
So,
What the hell is happening, dude?
I thought Mr. Patel was joining.
He was in the chat. I don't know where he went.
Oh my goodness. All right.
I'll
That's
text
fine.
him. But what dude, what do you I mean, like, what is your reaction to these 15 tenets of a peace deal for a ceasefire?
I don't know. He actually had not a press conference. It had nothing to do with the war and stuff, but of course the journalists were asking about it.
Yeah.
And he continues to reiterate that he's having conversations with the right people, that Iran is basically begging for a deal. And then now we see the ceasefire for 1 month. I actually never heard of Israel Channel 12, but apparently that's a credible source. So
It's a very credible source in Israel.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, I don't think they would be making that up. We saw the same thing happen with China, where Trump kept saying he was coming up with a deal with China last year, and China kept denying it. And out of nowhere, we got that deal. So there's probably a deal happening. But I think the bigger question is, how's the market going to react? But I think seeing oil down 4% after hours is a good sign that things are heading the right direction. Qs are up about 1%. They're up like 1.5% earlier, but I'd imagine they're going to continue that bounce as soon as Trump says something.
Does your gut tell you, I mean, do you believe this? You think it's legit? There's a ceasefire?
Yeah, I think there's a ceasefire, but the extremity in terms of the ceasefire is where the question is at. The market just cares about the Strait of Hormuz. That's obviously is the most important part. So if you have a ceasefire, but the Strait is still closed, the market's probably going to go back down. But if there is some sort of sanctity toward the Strait opening again, that's very good news. And I don't think it really matters what the terms are for the Strait opening. If you hear Strait open negotiation, then that will be what the market's going to cling on to. So we'll see.
This is, dude, you're covering the markets every day now. You stream every day. Link Sam's YouTube right here. Are you getting a little motion sickness from every day back and forth?
Yeah, it's been brutal. I mean, I learned my lesson a couple of weeks ago by not really trading this nonsense and just staying put a little bit. You know, I take some stabs here and there, small size, but I'm not gonna. This is a lot of whiplash back and forth. VIX is still at 26. I would need to see some meaningful recovery to be like, okay, guys, we're back. Like, look at this. We're fading a little bit here. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, I don't know where the market's going to go. Hopefully the direction is up.
I'm legit sweating now.
It would be nice to not bleed every single day.
But like, okay, so there is obviously a jolt of energy once you see everything go up after hours, and there has to be a reason. There's always a reason. We got the reason. The markets have given up, I would say about 30% of that move, or still up 0.5%.
Yeah.
Do you think the fade on that 30% of the initial move is just the choppy nature of the market where, you know, if it is real, cool, but until it actually gets confirmed by a Truth Social post, then it's probably not real?
I don't even think a confirmation or a Truth Social post is going to do anything. I think we need to hear in official words, the Strait of Hormuz is open again. And until we do, this will always be an overhang. I mean, the extremity of how Trump's truths actually do, or Trump's posts actually affect the market, the stickiness of those posts just fade lately. You know, this isn't like last year where, you know, we all of a sudden had these good truths being posted by Trump and all of a sudden the market sticks to its gains, maybe retraces a little bit and comes back overall. This is just continues to be a choppy market. I don't know if, I think we're in a structurally higher VIX regime right now. And with that, you're going to get big swings in the market up and down. You know, collectively, though, the good news is that we haven't like really broke down, but we are below the 200-day moving average, S&P 500 and SPY and Qs. And that usually is just when you see the most volatility in up and down direction. Until we recover those meaningfully, until the moving averages start to curl back up, we're going to continue to see this. I don't think it's going to
real quick, Sam, before we continue, we have something official now. The New York Times, just now, 3 minutes ago, the United States sent a 15-point plan to end the war in the Middle East, according to two officials briefed on the diplomacy, reflecting the Trump administration's eagerness to find an off-ramp. I'm reading from the article right here. So now you have a major American media publication reporting this. The United States has sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war in the Middle East. It was unclear how widely the plan delivered by way of Pakistan had been shared among Iranian officials and whether Iran was likely to accept it as a basis for negotiations, nor was it clear whether Israel, which has been bombing Iran together with the United States, was on board with the proposal. But the delivery of the plan showed that the administration was ramping up efforts to conclude a war now in its fourth week. The Times did not see a copy of the plan, but the officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive details shared some of the broad outlines, saying that it addresses Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear programs.
Well, certainly good news.
That's not just Israeli media anymore. That's the New York Times.
Yep. I mean, Trump did basically say that don't believe in the New York Times. So now it's kind of hard to believe here, but like he said that many times, don't believe in the New York Times. So
that's true.
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Oh, fake news, bro. As for Trump, it can't be real, right?
Reopen the Strait. That is what's going to make the market stick with the gap up.
We need CNBC to report this. They haven't reported it yet. Dude, this is crazy. So at least we have some American media reporting this. It's not just Israeli anymore. And look, if it's not fake, then Trump wasn't lying today when he said we are having real negotiations. The question is, did Iran agree to any of these 15 points? Because, you know, you could send your offer, but if the other side doesn't really take it seriously, then. But Sam, I don't know if you were listening to me. They said One of these 15 points is the U.S. will remove all sanctions on Iran.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money coming to the Ayatollah, which makes it hard to believe that that's true unless Trump is like, screw it. If that's what we got to do to get rid of your nukes, then I guess that's what we're going to do.
I don't know, money talks, dude. I'd imagine, though, that they're not going to stop the nuclear program. It's probably just going to be like, what's going to happen? There's going to be a lot of push and pull for the next few years. I don't think it's like, all right, you got us, we're going to stop now. Like, it's probably going to continue to be a headwind for the market here and there. But the straight opening, that is what it is. You know, that is what the market's looking for. Dude, it's crazy how, like, this guy had everyone, all of his friends, his family killed, and just like, I'll take the money. It probably just means they know they can't win, which is always going to be true. But can they really outlast this? Money talks, I guess.
Bloomberg just reported it live. Let me pull that up as well. And I agree with you. And there's been many reports saying that the Ayatollah's son is not interested in cooperating with the U.S. because his family just got killed. But maybe money does talk.
On the U.S. approach to Iran talks, that the U.S. is seeking a 1-month ceasefire to hold talks with Iran. And then this breaking from the New York Times that the U.S. is said to have sent Iran a plan to end the war here. The specifics unclear, also unclear whether or not Iran would even be receptive to that. But you can see the reaction after hours.
Yeah, apparently, according to the New York Times, a 15-point plan that apparently was delivered via Pakistan, which has become a bit of a middleman here in the process. But what you point out, just a few minutes ago, we saw a huge spike in some of the ETFs that are still trading, the broad market ETFs, a huge.
That's Bloomberg and the New York Times. Now we're just waiting on CNBC. And then, I mean, this is going to be the story that I guess is going to define the next couple of days. Did we actually? So first of all, we need Trump to confirm Trump's not going to come out and say we sent them a negotiation framework though, right? That's like saying you texted her first. Like Trump's not going to admit that, or maybe.
No, I think he would. I think he would admit that we sent it. I mean, that's always going to be positive for him.
How is it positive?
That he sent them a negotiation to end the war?
Yeah.
That just means that they're showing headway. He might, I think, isn't that what he's been saying? That he's been.
Well, he's saying we're negotiating, but it's not. He's not said like we have initiated a full proposal that we've sent them, and we haven't heard back from them. Well, I guess it's not that big of a deal. It's just now the ball's in their court for the Iranians. And if the Iranians know the ball is in their court, it kind of feels like they have more leverage. I guess that's kind of the game theory that I'm thinking of, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're never going to get those whole 15 points. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. As long as we get some sort of confirmation that they're negotiating with each other from the other side, then that's good enough for the market to go by. That means we're probably going to see the end of the war sooner or later.
Yeah, I agree. Trump wouldn't say, yeah, exactly, Austin. Trump wouldn't say we sent them a negotiating framework. Trump would say we destroyed them. They want a deal. Like, this is exactly what he would say, right?
Yeah, we won the war. He's been saying profusely, we won the war, right? Like it switched from like, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and it's going to take a long time to do it. It might take months. It might take years, whatever, to we won the war. Now we can pull out, that sort of thing. So like, they'll never admit that they're wrong. Like the regime will never, any administration will never say, we were wrong, we screwed up, guys. It'll always be a rewording of it to make it seem like they were still right the whole time. And using that as ammo to say, this is why we're pulling back because we won. That's always going to be the case of these administrations.
No, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. Yep, I'm seeing a bunch of other media publications starting to report these 15 agreements, which initially came from Israeli Channel 12. The New York Times did not report all of the agreements. But, I mean, if this is true. Now, what's also interesting about this is that there have been a lot of people that have completely gone on the side of like boots on the ground, let's invade, let's do it. I know a lot of people in the chat disagree with that, but from some of the different articles I've been reading, more kind of like diehard Trumpers. I wouldn't even say diehard MAGA, diehard Trumpers, because MAGA is more of a movement. Trump is more of a person people follow. I wonder how happy they'll be about this, because now they've been convinced that we need to actually invade Iran, topple the regime, instill democracy, and take over all the oil. And I think a lot of those people might end up being disappointed by this. The market's obviously going to love it, but I wonder how Trump's going to navigate the message to the people who were like with him that we need to go take over versus the people that obviously never liked this in the first place, because now the inevitable question is going to be, we did all of this for what exact reason? And maybe Trump frames it. And I'm curious, Sam, what you think. What do you think he's going to frame it as? Because I would imagine he's going to frame it as, well, we have basically instilled that Iran will never have a nuke. And maybe we have to kill the Ayatollah and have oil prices spike for 4 weeks to do that. But do you think that would be enough of a story for the market to agree with?
The market just wants a straight open. I don't think it really cares about Iran.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't care about the statehood of Iran. Obviously, there's some importance to that to certain people, but the stock market just cares about the Strait of Hormuz. It could really care less about the war because it hasn't cared about this war that's been going on for decades. It's just cared about the downstreaming economic impacts of high prices of oil. That's all it's always cared about. And we saw this war kind of escalate for a little bit, and it didn't matter. We saw the Hamas stuff escalate. The market recovered from that. We saw even escalations with Iran escalate. The market didn't care about that. But as soon as you got that closure of the Strait of Hormuz, that was when the market went down, oil went up. And as long as we get oil to come down, that's peaches and cream for the market. But, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say CNBC is talking about the IPO market, so they are still not reporting it. Maybe they will in a couple minutes, but you do have Bloomberg and the New York Times reporting it.
Yeah, CNBC is definitely more official. I think they want to see like that downward action in oil before they start reporting on it.
What a crazy market, folks. What a crazy market.
Yeah.
AirPod says if the U.S. is offering this plan means Trump is ready to give up the sanctions, it's a massive L. Well, politically, it will be interpreted however.
Yeah.
But as Sam says, whether it's an L or a W, that'll be decided in the midterms. But the market will be like, we're finished with this nonsense.
Yeah, dude. He's like, you kidding me? That's a win for them. At least that's what they're going to say. That's a win.
Trump's going to be look at your 401k.
Yeah.
Let's buy the
dip. Win. Dow's back at 50K. That's good for them, right?
VG down 5%.
Yeah, there was someone that asked me on the stream today, what should we do with VG? I'm like, yo, the thing is up like almost 100% in a few months. It might be time to take profits on this thing. And there it did. VG's down 4% after hours.
135. But no, it's been down 4% and then up 10% every day. So it's like the hedge against Trump lying about the war ending. And then when it goes down, the market goes up. So it's, I don't know, it's like a put option without having to buy puts.
Yeah, it is hitting resistance at its IPO level because I believe it IPO'd around this level, right?
Yeah.
It opened much higher, but I think it IPO'd at 16 or was priced at $16. This next decade would always take time to play out as well, because I know a lot of people were looking at next decade as like a similar LNG thing, but that's going to take a little bit longer for it to really come out there. But it is nice to see that some people were able to trade this VG position, get out of it, because this thing was like went as low as $5 last December. That's crazy. You got a triple on that already.
Jury finds Meta violated New Mexico state law in lawsuit over child exploitation. Maybe that's why Meta has been stuck in a bit of a headwind over the past couple of days. Do you have any insight on why Google fell today, Sam? Because I could not find anything.
I think it had to do with, one, software's being sold off, but I think it just, to be honest, I don't even know why I'm trying to answer this question. I have no idea. I have no idea why Google was down 3%.
I don't think anyone does at all.
Yeah, I could have sworn there was some news regarding some LLMs. Maybe it just has to do with some fears as far as OpenAI, I would think. Even though OpenAI is not directly involved with Google, I would still think that because Google is one of the leading LLMs that are out there, foundation models that are out there, that it's probably because OpenAI, Shopify. Why would that be it?
Yeah, why would that be? I mean,
it's a $3 trillion.
I guess there's more agentic commerce that could happen through ChatGPT, so people don't go to Google and there's less ads for Google to sell if you want to buy like sneakers or something.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because now OpenAI is kind of focusing on its enterprise business that might take some market share back from Google, and Google has been the biggest beneficiary of less market share from OpenAI in this. So maybe that's the reason why that maybe Google's massive growing lead is starting to slow down a little bit. So, I think people can kind of agree Google was a little bit expensive lately. So maybe just a little bit of a rotation from a technical standpoint.
If it's EU regulatory stuff, then that is a story as old as time. If that's the reason for why Google got hit. By the way, Axios just now, the U.S. is preparing options for military escalation in Iran, including potential boots on the ground in case peace talks fail. A White House official says the situation is quote unquote fluid, and Trump wants to see if Iran wants to make a deal. But quote, if not, we will go back to bombing them. Okay. So that is kind of coinciding all the headlines together. Basically, people are saying, how can we trust the peace headlines if we're sending boots on the ground? Based on this Axios report, we're sending boots on the ground in case Iran doesn't agree to the deal, and then we go back to bombing, which might be too coincidental of a story to sell, but I mean, maybe that's what's happening. It sounds like bullshit. I know, guys, it sounds like I'm saying bullshit, but I'm just reporting it. Okay. I'm not making it up.
I hear you, man. Like, while I'm streaming, like 5 different headlines are coming out, and I don't even know what's coming out till someone comments it in the chat. I mean, you got like a whole slew of people that are looking at every single tweet out there in the audience right now. So, like, you see some headline come out, it's like, holy crap, you know. But I'm just looking at big moves that are happening in the market, and this is definitely a market mover. This is
absolutely it's a market mover. Yeah. No.
This is definitely a big change in dynamics here. Grab is up 4% today, so I mean, some good news.
I'm not celebrating at all. I'm being very zen about it. I hope we can keep it, but there were some good updates over the past couple of days.
There's like nothing to celebrate right now. We're down like 50% in the last like 3 months. There's nothing to celebrate right now at Grab.
Yeah,
but
it's just nice to see momentum for the first time all year, but we got to build on it, you know?
Yeah, we need to build on it. It is an interesting story to follow. It is good to see, but if it makes people feel any better, it's not just Grab that's down. It's all of EM is down. Mercado Libre is in the low 1600s now. Nubank's in 14. C Limited is below 100 again, which I didn't think was going to happen. It's not just ride sharing and delivery. It's just EM in general when it comes to e-commerce.
The poll I put in the chat on if you believe the ceasefire is real is 60-40. So now, even after the New York Times and Bloomberg have reported it, people are not necessarily believing it's real. I mean, you don't have major American media publications report that stuff in the way they're reporting it if it's not at least somewhat. Maybe it's not 15 points, maybe it's 12 points or something, but there's got to be some level of talking that, and Trump himself is saying it. I mean, maybe Trump is lying, and as a result, all the media publications have been duped, but it feels like there is some attempt from the U.S. to find the off-ramp. I mean, Trump literally said today, JD and Rubio and all those guys are talking. So either he's flat out lying and trying to buy time, or they are talking and maybe they're not talking productively, but it does feel like they are talking to an extent.
I think they're talking, and I think there's truth to this, but that doesn't mean the market's going to go back up. And I hate to be like sounding bearish and stuff. And in fact, I'm not bearish. My portfolio, like I'm long as hell, right? Like I'm not trying to short this crazy market, but I want to see these indices recover, man. This has been like seriously a brutal, like beginning of the year, and oil up 60% in the year does not help the situation.
No, it doesn't help at all. It doesn't help at all. CNBC is still not covering it, trying to see if they say anything. New Mexico is saying $375 million is what Meta will have to pay because of this lawsuit, which is a parking ticket for Meta.
It's nothing. It's nothing, man.
That's how much Zucks pays to get a lemonade delivered to him.
Yeah.
What was I about to say? Oh, this Disney CNBC or OpenAI thing. Did you ever think the OpenAI Disney partnership was legit?
I mean, it is kind of legit. They use them as far as taking certain like Disney clips and being able to integrate them in Sora. But like, did it help Disney in the first place? No. I don't know what's going to help this stock, to be honest. Still below $100. Like 3 years later, it's still below $100. That's just wild.
Yeah, Chris said he fell asleep.
Of course he did.
Dude, he was there in the first 2 minutes of the show. How did he fall asleep before the market closed. That is crazy.
I don't know, man. This kid he works all night, right? I think the
That's
only
true, he
times
does.
when I can stream with him is 12 a.m. Eastern. Like I've streamed with him at midnight many times. It's the only time he's available because that's, he's a Nighthawk and everything. So, yeah, it would be nice to get him during the day, but like this dude's a vampire. So he's not.
That means he's going to
not
wake
gonna
up
be
to
around.
all
Yeah.
this peace talk stuff.
Is he coming on?
He's going to come on. Yeah, we'll be done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He'll be on the last 20. And
I
surprised
want
Bell
to
didn't
talk
wake
to him. I haven't streamed with that dude in a long time.
the bell was not loud enough. That's correct. Dude, what a crazy freaking market. Have you made any moves? Are you buying anything, selling, hedging? How are you navigating this?
I've been doing some trades, but nothing too wild. I did buy the Circle dip today, which is pretty
Ooh, okay.
that one. Yeah, I bought Circle like 117 last week and then sold it at like 128 and then proceeded to see it go to 135. I'm just like, God damn it. So another opportunity today. That is one of the leaders in the stock market as far as performance goes. So it'll be nice to see a little bit of a bounce. But really the reason why it dropped today was something to do with like stable coins, which is like total FUD. So I would like to see Circle.
Can you explain why it dropped today and why it's FUD? I'm just curious how you're.
So the Clarity Act is supposed to have a positive momentum and tailwind for crypto in general, especially when it comes to stable coins, using it as like currency to make transactions, that stuff. Apparently the Clarity Act did not propose a deal for stable coins. I'm sure it's going to get negotiated in because this has been like in the house for so long. So it'll probably need to get negotiated back in, but it's selling because of that, because stablecoin is the maker of USDC, right? And
Correct.
out of all the coins, this will probably be the one that's going to be used for transactions because it's the most widely used. Like Tether is not necessarily something that the government's probably going to extend, mostly because of the fact that is that really a centralized token per se. Like I'm not really an expert when it comes to this. Is more of a swing trade for me. Like I'm not a Circle expert, I'm not a stablecoin expert, but the chart looks amazing. And you did have a retest of some moving averages there. So it'd be nice to see that come back.
And I think
More of
you
a trade.
feel
Yeah.
this is the best way to play crypto. Like it's not Hood, it's not Coinbase, it's stablecoins right now.
It hasn't been Hood. It hasn't been Hood lately. It made new, not 52-week lows, but it made newer local lows lately. It's under $70 and crypto has bounced already off 60K. So it hasn't been clear exactly why Hood hasn't been the beneficiary from it. But I'm sure Hood is probably getting a lot of fear instilled in it because of the reason why trading has dropped to a very low level lately. Like zero TTEs are not being traded a lot lately. Option trading has not been traded a lot lately by retail traders. So that's going to directly impact Hood from a sector perspective. But if that comes back, like the market goes back to all-time highs, of course, Hood is going to go back with it, but I think it'll be a tailwind if it does.
Do you agree with them increasing their buyback after hours, or you think it's not going to really make
That's
a
like 2% of its market cap, I think,
No.
right?
No,
What's the market cap of?
it's like 68 billion. Yeah, I don't think the buyback is really going to make a
It's
bigger
not going to
move.
make a lot of difference. Like, you need the you need some momentum coming back for fintech. Also, this is a double-edged sword for Hood because you have the sentiment with fintech coming out here as well.
Iran, I know you like this one. Did you like that the OpenAI partnership potentially might be more real now?
They didn't really announce it. He just said no comment.
That's bullish, right?
I'm not in Iran anymore.
Oh, I forgot. You got that's true.
Yeah,
You were an OG, but yeah, you got it.
but I'm not. I wasn't even an OG. It was. I guess I got in late in it. But I mean, I'm not even bearish Iran. Like I don't think Iran's going to zero. I think the whole sector is going to move up with the tailwind of data center build out. I just prefer to just concentrate my bet at this point on Nebius because that was my number one pick in the first place. And like this sector is volatile as hell, man. I mean, you just saw Nebius at $130. It was at $88 the other week. And now it's like right smack in the middle. So maybe it might go up, maybe it go down. Like, I don't know if there really is an indicator to where this is going in the short term. All I know is that almost every single company in this entire sector, they're not going to actually see that ARR by the end of the year. And they're not going to see those tangible revenues until 2027, right? So that the ARR is going to be basically the last month times 12. The actual revenue for the entire year won't be until 2027. So Might be some time till we see that actually happen. You know, wherever Iran or Nebius will be, we'll see. But Nebius so far has been recovered pretty decently from this so far. So has TerraWolf, which I haven't done any research on, but that one's performing really well. The ticker symbol is still.
I was just going to say, CNBC has a breaking news headline, but it is not about the ceasefire. It is about Meta.
New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres and argued that Meta and CEO Mark Zuckerberg violated the state's consumer protection laws and misled the public about the risks for young users' mental health and the threat of sexual exploitation. Meta responding to the verdict, saying, "We respectfully disagree with the verdict and will appeal. We work hard to keep people safe on our platforms and are clear about the challenges of identifying and removing bad actors or harmful content. We will continue to defend ourselves vigorously, and we remain confident in our record of protecting teens online." We've reached out to.
So again, to your point, Sam, they are not really thinking this is still real yet, as they continue to report on some of the other stuff. But I also agree with you when it comes to Nebius. It feels like it's a much more concentrated bet. I mean, the fact that Iran is down year to date and Nebius is up 30% and Iran's down 3%, I mean, it definitely does feel like the market is picking and choosing their winners here.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think there has to be a loser, right? If we're measuring by performance, obviously Nebius is winning, but I don't know why people think that just because you're not long a stock, you're bearish, or it's either Nebius or it's Iran, like one or the other. So if you're bullish in Iran, you're bearish Nebius. It's like, I don't understand this argument because they're both going to move in tandem in the long term, right? So you're either going to win or you're not going to win. But I think that position wise, it's Iran, CoreWeave, Cipher, and Nebius. It's probably going to be Taro from what the market's looking at that are likely to be winners from this. And whichever one goes higher than the other one, your bet is as good as mine with that one. But as it is today, Nebius has the most diversification, is already profiting off of, well, not really profiting, but already making a significant amount of money from its AI cloud. Iran is probably going to be there very soon because they're going to ramp up very quickly. But yeah, TerraWolf is crazy. Someone please enlighten me with the fundamentals on this, because I completely missed this one. Wasn't Stan Druckenmiller in this one?
I think, yeah, for a bit. I don't think he is anymore, but he was. Let's bring on someone who somehow fell asleep after commenting in the chat. I guess the bell wasn't loud enough for this guy. I mean, that is quite incredible. This guy must be working his ass off to buy the dip if he fell asleep and my bell couldn't wake him up. Christopher Patel.
Bro, it wasn't your stream or anything. What happened was, guys, I don't know what the hell happened, but Georgia DMV is awesome. This morning I was like preparing. I was like, my past experiences with the DMV is you go there, you sit around for 2 hours, and then eventually you get called and all this BS. I swear to God, dude, I went there. I got a ticket because I filled the application online, and dude, it took like 15 minutes tops. And I drank like a bunch of coffee and stuff. So I was awake this morning, and I was like,
how'd you fall asleep?
I was like, all right, let me just snooze, hit the snooze button.
You snooze between 3:47 and 4:50?
Well, that's when you're supposed to snooze. You're like, okay, I'm just going to roll out of bed. I'm going to get on this live stream, and then I'm going to, I wanted to be fresh, but I was asleep. So my bad.
Your naps are
my
crazy.
bad.
I don't know how to take
So if anyone here is in Georgia, if anyone here is in Georgia, go to Norcross. Norcross DMV is the bomb. It is quick. There's like 20 stalls. I got my, because I finally am a Georgia resident now, so I switched my licenses. So yeah.
So do you know what's happened in the past hour at all?
Yeah, I saw you talking about it. I think the chat was mentioning it too, that Jared Kushner and Witkoff are saying there might be like a month-long ceasefire, right?
So before we get into it, do you agree with this at all? Do you think it's real? New York Times reporting it, Bloomberg, or do you think it's fake?
I mean, it's probably real. The only thing is, what does Israel have to say about this? Because I don't think
Israel media reported it.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean that Israel supports it. There's like I said, one of the things about this whole situation, and it's becoming more and more clear, is that this, and I hope people in the chat don't think that this is like anti-Semitic or something. It doesn't matter if it's. I'm not trying to. attack Jewish people in general. I'm just saying a lot of what was happening in this conflict seems that Israel was really driving the situation in wanting to try to end a long-term threat, right? The U.S. was okay with it because, Iran would have a really tough time touching us. So I don't necessarily think that there was anything imminent, but that doesn't mean that there could have been a possible problem in the future. And I think as time has gone on, we've seen that the U.S. has been more on the side of let's negotiate ourselves out, especially this last week. And you've seen that the Israelis are the ones that are really trying to escalate the situation and putting the U.S. back into the situation. And so I think what's happening is the Iranians might have actually miscalculated, and they said, well, now we're just going to attack the GCC countries. And the GCC countries usually are the ones that, are pretty hospitable to their neighbor. Unlike the other countries, the GCC countries have to share a border with these guys and have to share a narrow strait with them. So, they would have preferred to have a peaceful Iran rather than something that's more conflicting right now that we're having. But I think by attacking the GCC countries, now the GCC countries feel like long term they can't handle the Iranians either. So this whole thing is happening like real time. That
to your point, that's why the Saudi prince was quoted as potentially supporting the war and wanting to continue to fight the Iranians.
Yeah. The challenge that he runs into, and I think a lot of the GCC countries run into, is that the Muslim world, I would say, not the Iranian world, I just say the Muslim world, I would say is probably more supportive of Iran because of ideology, right? I think there's a lot of Iranians, and I can't speak for the Iranians. I'm sorry. I don't mean to speak for you because, there's, of course, multiple sides in all this conflict. But I think a good amount of Iranians would rather not have the regime internally, right? Which is exactly why we're seeing this media blackouts and all this other stuff. But at the other side, when you go outside of the Iranian people, you're seeing a lot more of people rally behind Iran saying, America is the big bad Satan, especially because the U.S. has gone into a lot of these countries and basically destabilized them. So, of course, there's not a lot of love towards America when it comes to that. So the challenge here is you're dealing with a whole bunch of nuances. The only thing I'll tell you is the amount of information and propaganda coming out from both sides is crazy. And I've never been one to curtail freedom of speech. I think freedom of speech is great, but there has been so much incitement that's happening on X from every side that it's kind of crazy. And you're running under this misinformation, just blanket statements by everyone, and breaking, Iran just attacked this, and breaking, Israel just did that. And it's one of those things that I'm like, how does the market know what to do? Because the market runs on information. And the thing is, all you need is a couple of big accounts to say something false, and you can have oil crash and you can have oil spike. It's insane. The amount of power people on social media have depending on their following levels, which is what did you think of weaponized.
What did you think of the Trump 5-day delay of bombing the power plants yesterday?
I think there are times where he's a little bit too forceful in the way that he responds to things. I don't necessarily think that was ever a real thing. I think it was just I don't think it was a real threat. I think he was just trying to put that out there to try to quote unquote scare these people into negotiating, saying, look, the one thing the Iranian regime right now fears is an uprising by its own people. Like, you don't shut down the internet to the entire country because you feel like you have the support of the vast majority of people, right? And if anything, you'd have the vast majority of people criticizing you online if that was the case. So right now, the Iranians, I think according to statistics that I've been reading, okay, I can't confirm because everything is still hazy, about 70% of the Iranian people would rather not have the current regime in power, especially after what happened in January, right? So that's one of the challenges that we're sort of facing right now. And the other thing is, I think the U.S. to some degree and the Israelis, they kind of showed the U.S. saying, look, if we are going to do this and we're going to safeguard our national interest long term, right now the Iranian people are not with the regime. There's been a multiple crackdowns that just happened. There's been protests that happened. If we go in now, this is our best chance at dismantling this current regime with some level of legitimacy. If we attack them while everything is peaceful and normal, we'll look like aggressors. But if we go and attack them right now, we'll probably look like liberators. And so I don't necessarily know how the world might interpret the current action. I think some people interpret it as, I guess the U.S. is doing this long term. But from what I can see, the vast majority of the world is right now sitting on a really bad, they're sitting in a really bad place when it comes to inflation and oil prices and everything. Which, look, if you were going to go to war with Iran or any country in the Middle East, you're going to get a spike in oil. Like, there's just no way around it. Sorry, So
let's transition how you're thinking about the markets. We saw Jay Powell last week. Fed doesn't think there's going to be a cut this year anymore. Inflation likely, at least for another month, is going to be bad until this war comes to an end and oil calms down. I mean, do you buy the dip? Do you buy the Max 7? Do you stay on the sidelines? Do you buy puts? How are you thinking of this market right now?
So what tends to happen is when you have a sea change in the market, especially when it comes to credit and financing, you can run into a situation where companies and businesses are not prepared for a new paradigm. I mean, most companies can adjust to things very, pretty evenly, but you can't do it if it's so sudden. So as an example, you guys remember COVID, right? When COVID first hit us, it's not that the businesses couldn't adjust. It just took them some time to adjust. And it's very similar to now. So oil price is going up to $100. Believe it or not, we've had oil for $100 quite some time ago. We ran oil $80, $90, $100 for a good, solid 4 or 5 years from 2008 to 2015, right? And we had an okay economy. It wasn't, it was bad during the GFC, but it was okay after that. So we can tolerate some level of inflation when it comes to oil prices. The problem is if your business is already used to $60 oil prices, now has to pay $100 oil prices, that's a big jump in operating costs that you have to deal with, whether you're a logistics company, whether you're an airline, whether you're a cruise line, whether you're basically oil touches everyone. So this giant sea change can cause problems. Now, what tends to happen is there is a pricing lag whereby companies price goods and services, and a lot of it is based on their fixed costs. So one of the costs that they have, of course, is fuel, right? If you're thinking that, hey, I'm going to pay $60 a barrel, you're going to price your goods and services based on that $60 price. Let's say oil prices go to $100. Now you can sustain the current prices that you have for a certain period of time. Like, every business is different. But after a certain point, you got to start passing those costs on to the consumer. And the consumer right now is dealing with a whole bunch of issues, like negative issues because of AI. And that's, I think, the bigger issue that I'm seeing right now is not even Iran. Like, Iran's like the sideshow to me, to be honest with you. The bigger thing that we all need to be watching for is
I was about to say, I think I know what you're about to say. Private credit. Are you, I've been seeing some of your tweets. Do you think this is 2008 level stuff, or how are you thinking of it?
It could be. It just kind of depends on how long we let this current situation go on, right? A lot of the business models when it comes to these BDCs with private equity, private credit, are very dependent on low interest rates. That is what we've been used to, low interest rates. A lot of these guys, what they do, and I think there has to be maybe we can do this another time, because I think there's a really long explanation as to what is actually going on. Private equity and private credit, we have to remember there's two different things. And not to mention there's public companies that are listed that are private equity firms, and then there's public companies that work with private credit that have public instruments where you can buy in. They're called BDCs, right? So what we're seeing right now is sort of like this cracking where people are scared of two different things. Number one, a lot of these guys, they have exposure to software. So when AI came in and Claude came in and saying, hey, we can basically one-shot all of these softwares, a lot of these private equity firms and private credit firms, what they had done is they took investments at very high multiples in a lot of these companies, these technology companies, that their basic moat is software, right? So let's say you're a car dealership, and you're really good at what you're doing, and you're like, hey, I'm going to create a software that helps car dealerships manage their inventory, right? It's a very small niche thing, and you're thinking, wow, this is great, I can sell this to everyone else. And you hit the nail on the head, and half the dealerships in the country are starting to use your software. It's a very low margin, but it's subscription based. You can do it. Now, the amount of time that you need to get a competing product into the market has shrunk significantly because of something like Claude Code. And so people are worried that, hey, in the future, everyone is basically going to be able to develop software that's going to one-shot all this existing software that's out there. And what's going to end up happening is now the people that currently have these moats because of just, their reach, those are not going to be there. So software multiples are coming down significantly. So right now we're seeing things like Adobe, ServiceNow, all of these guys. You can see a multiple re-rating where a lot of these guys are trading at 30 multiples now, shrunk down to 20. That's a pretty significant drop. And then some of them are even down 50% in terms of their multiple. So when you have that kind of multiple compression on the public side, people think that that's the exact same thing that's going to happen on the private side. So a lot of these private equity firms and private credit firms, they do something called mark to market. So what they're essentially doing is, we loaned out $100 to this company. People are saying, well, this company is worth half of what it was before. So your mark to market should be the same thing. Like, you should be marking down that loan or that equity investment by half. And the private guys are like, no, we don't do that. And so that's why you're seeing that the market is saying, even if KKR is saying, hey, listen, FSK, which is one of the, you could do FSK. FSK is a perfect example of it. FSK book value on this thing is $20. The stock is worth 10, so it's like 50% off. So this is kind of nuts to see this kind of discount that's out there.
Okay, so the software stuff is ugly. The private credit stuff is ugly. You would think if software is going to die because of AI, then the AI names would catch a bid. And I'm curious what you think about NVIDIA now post GTC. But we got a pretty interesting headline. Mark Stevens, director at NVIDIA, buys 221,000 shares at $172, which is $38 million. I mean, any reaction to the insider buy? And then if AI should catch a bid if software is going to keep dying?
No, it's very helpful, man. When you have internal insiders buying, there's that saying that always comes to pass, right? Whenever we talk about these things, everyone sells for a lot of reasons, but everyone buys only for one, right? And that's because you're undervalued. So, which is fine. I think NVIDIA is undervalued at 170s. This company should be at $200 right now. Like, in my opinion, $200, the bare minimum this should be at right now. There could be something around just the general market sentiment not being as good, and people just saying, you know what, I need to de-risk a little bit. And so there's been some selling. I think there could be also pressure from people just getting out of this market because of fears that this Iran and US thing might go longer. And because this is one of the index darlings, it's getting sold off because of that. So
this guy is worth 11 billion, by the way. So I guess 38 million is not a lot, but still, it's one of the first insider buys we've seen in a while. Sam, your quick thoughts on that insider buy, and if you think NVIDIA is cheap.
I mean, that is a pretty decent size, but NVIDIA is a $5 trillion company. Well, probably like $4.5 trillion or $4 trillion now. So it isn't a whole lot. It does mean something. And didn't they just come out of a quiet period or whatever this is called, a freeze or something? So you're going to see those, like the same thing happened with software stocks when they started buying everything. The biggest bull trap was TTD with the $150 million buy. And you've been just seeing relentless off. It jumped above $30 for a minute. Jeff Green bought it when it was like $20. Jeff Green bought $150 million of it. And that pumped the stock up to like $30. And since then it's dropped considerably because now you're having these proponents of trying to push the TTD software out there saying, we're not going to recommend this to our customers anymore. And that's starting to be a risk to the entire industry. NVIDIA if you think Nvidia is cheap, you should look at Micron because that's a crazy cheap stock. The only reason why I'm not buying these is because one, I don't know if the market's like shift rotating out of memory and into OpEx or anything. I mean, I think memory probably still has room to run, but I do think that optics probably has more room to run on top of that. So if you take like Nvidia, why is Nvidia trading so cheap? I think it's because like the market's dropping. People are looking at the leaders in as far as performance goes. They're just like, I want to buy that one instead. Plus also Nvidia, it takes a lot more to move that stock than to move like AOI or Coherent or Tower Semiconductor or anything, which is performing very well lately. It's really just about narrow leadership here. If we have the market come back, we could be able to see Nvidia come back, but until then, it pops, gets sold off, pops, gets sold off. So it's very difficult to know, whether you could just keep saying something's undervalued even at $200 and it's sitting here at 175. It could come back, but you'd have to have a longer time horizon for doing that sort of thing. But there's a lot of things that sometimes they appear very cheap at the peaks. So who knows at this point? Who knows if this is some sort of local top or not? Because the market is just like, I don't want to buy this right now. You could buy it. You could certainly buy it, but we don't know. We don't know what the market is thinking right now. All we do know is that the tape is kind of chasing the leaders right now.
I think when it comes to Micron, there is this fear that it traditionally has been a very cyclical business. And if you look at the market cap right now, it's almost $400 billion, right? So the question then becomes, are people who have been in Micron for a very long time, are they taking profits because they're like, look, eventually this thing is going to top out, right? They can't exactly assess where this tops out, so they're selling right now. I mean, if you had Micron in the last year, you're up almost 300-400%, and the memory business itself is a very cyclical business. So it's just one of those things that 400%.
But
so if you're
even with the cyclicality, does it deserve a forward PE of 4.7? Like I really do. Cyclicality, but
yeah. The challenge here is that number one, everything on a forward basis, it's all assumed, right? So there's an assumption that's built in, and the thing is, the market is starting to look further out. So when I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, what about the year after that? Like, is there going to be a sharp drop off in growth the year after that? So right now, we can safely say from a projection standpoint, like next year, there's probably going to be robust demand. But what about the year after that? And so a lot of people, they're just not willing to time this thing, because of just how cyclical the business is. It's proven to be cyclical. And unlike NVIDIA, you've got other competitors out there as well, right? So it's either that or, and this is just me spitballing to try to get something. Someone knows something at the institutional level, and they're like, we need to dump this now because the demand for memory is about to go down significantly. Because if you think about it, who was like screaming at the top of their lungs when last year, when everyone was like, oh yeah, you know what? We're going to need a crap ton of memory and there's going to be a bottleneck. Tell me one person that was screaming to buy Micron except for Steven, who was talking about it because he was telling it was a value play last year.
I will say shout out to Couch. Yeah, Couch Investor definitely. But, he's one of not many people that actually call him, so.
Right. I know I'm saying that, and especially not that many big people, especially outside of the social media sphere. Like I didn't have
Stanley Druckenmiller wasn't saying it,
Yeah, exactly. Like not many people were talking about it. I mean, I'm sure that this is one of those things that if you work internally, like at NVIDIA or any of these hyperscalers or designing chips and stuff, you could probably had some alpha that we don't have because we don't necessarily understand the demand side on the components, right? So they probably had better insights into this kind of stuff. And so those people got lucky. Unfortunately, we could be having a very similar situation right now where people are saying, look, there might be an alternative coming where maybe we don't need as much high bandwidth memory. And then, by the way, this is just me spitballing. I'm not saying that that's actually what's happening. And maybe that's why the institutional level, they've got the information and saying, hey, listen, this is the time to dump because maybe NVIDIA's got some workarounds that doesn't require a whole, it basically oversteps the HBM memory hurdle.
Chris, is it time to seriously think of taking profits on VG, or what are you thinking about on this one?
I mean, okay, look, I am a shareholder of VG. I love this company. I think long term, this company is going to be $100 billion plus. It's got a lot of things going for it. The current economy, the economic situation, thank God Venture Global made all the investments that they did in 2019, 2020, and really like continued investing in this market through this whole situation. But they have taken on a lot of debt. And because you've taken on a lot of debt, you're going to have to work that debt down. Now, profitability right now is going to be amazing because of just, natural gas prices are higher, but supposedly there's a natural gas supply glut that was supposed to be forming at the back half of this decade. The challenge is now with production coming offline from Qatar, you could actually see that supply glut normalize, in which case VG would be a great investment. But just understand that this is probably going to be like more of a market grower early on while they're still getting their projects up and running. So don't think of this as like a tech company that can basically shoot to $100 overnight. Like the chances of that are going to be, you just can't infinitely scale this thing to the level that that like you can with software and tech. So as long as you keep that in mind, I think $15 is a pretty good price. It's a fair price. I think you could safely get 15 to 20% compounded for a decade, which is, in my opinion, pretty good. And then if you consider that in the future, they're going to do massive amounts of share buybacks and dividends, you're going to get a lot of value from Venture Global. And 15% compounded for 10 years. I know it sounds like, 15% a year, that's not much. But if you know anything about the power of compounding, it's amazing. So
yeah, I think that is a fair point. I mean, I think it's really interesting how VG was stuck for a while. It was down a lot from the IPO, and then it took a war to kind of get the market excited again about natural gas. And now every day it goes down if the headlines are good for the war ending, and it goes up if the headlines are bad. Long term, I agree with you. It has been one of the most volatile names that a lot of people are in, and they kind of don't know how to navigate because this war came out of nowhere, and now it's pumping the stock.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things about investing in oil and natural gas, right? Like natural gas is known as the widowmaker for investors for a reason. When things are good, natural gas, you can become a millionaire. Hell, you can become a billionaire if you get into the right investments. But if you get in at the wrong time, you're gonna end up like Aubrey McClendon over at Chesapeake, and that's the poster child for what can happen if you are unable to time the markets in oil and natural gas. So, and this is why me and Matt, every time we've done a stream and people keep asking, what about VG today? What about VG today? It's like, guys, just understand this is oil and natural gas. This is not tech. This is not inbuilt margins that are sustainable where you see an up and to the right business for the next, 20 years. This is a whole different beast. So just understand that you're going to have to sustain volatility. And that's like that with most energy companies, right? So
yeah.
I saw somebody saying they're buying VG put today. I gotta be careful with buying puts on very high IV stocks because you need to drop very considerably to profit off those puts since the premiums are high, unless you buy deep in the money puts. But if I own VG, I would sell covered calls right now. The IV is so high in that. I remember the last time VG did this, it went from like $10 to like 15, 16. And you were calling this out on your server too, Chris. And that was great because you would sell covered calls for like $1 or $2 when it was like $15. And yeah, it went to 20, but a week after that, it was back at 15 again. And you could just kind of reap that. You could reap those, the volatility through that. I think now would probably be a good time to do that. Obviously not in the entire position, but just to kind of harvest some of that volatility, which is what you've been doing with NVIDIA the whole time, Amit, right? Like it's probably a good time to start selling covered calls after it makes a massive run like that.
There's also another component to all of this, which is not necessarily appreciated, but Venture Global also has trouble in dealing with its debt when interest rates go up, right? So people have to remember that as well. So on one side, you've got the equation working for you that the spreads are expanding between, the US and Europe, so they make more money. But the other side, you also have higher interest charges if we get a sustained period of longer term inflation, right? They also have the arbitration issues with BP. So, there's, like I said, there's still headlines out there that can keep this company somewhat depressed relative to where it could end up in the short to medium term. But like I said, if your time horizon on this is long, $15 is a great price to buy. $10 is a great price to buy. $5 is an amazing price to buy. It just depends on where you want to end up. And just when it comes to oil and natural gas, just be ready for the volatility.
Chris, are you at all worried about a recession, or are you selling and raising cash or anything, or are you just continuing to be a retail investor that buys the dip? Like, how are you navigating this market?
I think as far as I can tell, business profitability and liquidity are fine. Like, the economy is doing okay. The problem that we're sort of running into right now is this war is basically thrown a lot of uncertainty into the markets because we don't know when it's going to end, right? Like, imagine you're a businessman right now, right? And you're thinking, okay, I need to price things for a year from now, like for Christmas, because right now it's April, so you got to put in your factory orders now. You got to start hiring now, and you got to do all this stuff for Christmas and all that stuff. Imagine not knowing what your costs are going to be 6 months, a year from now. So what do? Like, you don't want to overcommit to spending a lot right now. You don't want to undercommit to spending because you could end up with a whole bunch of inventory that doesn't move. So whenever you have these periods of uncertainty, they're not good. So I think there is a fine limit to how much this economy is going to give the president to basically work things out with Iran. And if we do get a resolution of this, we could start to see some movements like back into the market where things get a little bit easier, especially on the inflation front. On the software side, I think the narrative that AI is going to destroy software, in my opinion, it's overblown. Like, there's
Claude today caused it to go down again after their newest product came out.
Yeah, I think these new Claude releases are scaring the shit out of investors. And to be honest with you, some of them really did need to get kicked in the shins a little bit too, because the market had gotten too too comfortable with giving crazy high multiples for companies because they thought, software can never go wrong. This is like just a high growth, low cost, they can always buy back a bunch of shares. Everything is going to be good. And I don't mind paying a 35 forward EV to EBITDA on some niche software product. Like, the market had gotten a little too comfortable, and now they're all getting kicked in the shins. And now they're coming back down and trading at the value that they're supposed to be trading at. So that's how the market tends to do it. Now, I think that there are some names that have overcorrected. Like, when I see the drop off in Microsoft, I have to ask myself, on one hand, you're seeing this crazy level of premium that you're getting for an open AI and Anthropic side hustle. What is that thing called that you were mentioning? CVX or whatever? Like, it was trading at like
VCX. People are buying Anthropic at a $5 trillion valuation based on the price that is pumped to today. I mean, this is absolute insanity. This is just stupid.
Yeah, but see, that's why you have to ask yourself, then why the hell is people not just loading the boat on Amazon? Because Amazon owns 20% of Anthropic. So you're probably
because they own 20%. They don't. Yeah. 20% of Amazon is not Anthropic. It's the other way around, right? So that's the reason why. Like, you could have exposure to it, but what we were talking about, like a few billion, I don't know. They own 20%, and then that would make them $120 billion. Actually, what's Amazon at right now? Like 200 billion, 2 trillion? I forget.
No, it's like 1 point something. So no, I'm just saying, like, if you want exposure to Anthropic, both from the value of the Anthropic stake itself, and then also the demand for all of that compute, because Anthropic doesn't magically bring compute out of the sky. It actually uses AWS, right? It uses Azure. It uses all of these other hyperscales. So if you think that you're going to buy a crap ton of 2.5 trillion, okay, if you're going to buy a crap ton of Anthropic via this one vehicle, you might as well just buy Amazon, because you believe that the future growth of this thing justifies crazy amounts of spend that these guys are doing right now. One of the reasons why the hyperscalers are getting their teeth kicked in right now is because they're spending so much on capex. So if you think Anthropic should be worth $4 trillion, you think that obviously that they're going to be able to generate $4 trillion of value. Where are they going to generate that value from?
But I don't think people understand that just because VCX owns 20% of the fund of I feel like people are thinking they own 20% of Anthropic. The fund, 20% of the fund is Anthropic, but the NAV, the NAV premium is 28 times. Like, is Anthropic worth $4.5 billion? Is Anthropic worth as much as Nvidia? What is happening? Like,
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Look, there's one thing that is very obvious now, and that is that when Anthropic, when OpenAI, when SpaceX, they come out, they're going to be vastly, vastly oversubscribed to what people think. I think these guys might come out at $1 trillion plus valuations. Like Anthropic right now is valued at 380. I think it comes out at $1 trillion plus. I think that to me it seems logical. What do you guys think?
well, it's already trading in 600 billion in the secondaries, but if they keep adding 6 billion of revenue a month, or even $1 billion of revenue a month, yeah, they're going to $1 trillion. Same with OpenAI.
In terms of all the LLMs, I find Claude to be the best. Like, the usefulness of Claude seems on another level for me. But then again, that's exactly what I said about Gemini 60 days ago. So
yeah.
It's one of those things that the market leader just keeps, changing back and forth.
Why are you guys making Sam conscious about his blinking?
Dude, I got LASIK eye surgery in 2013, or was it 2014? And since then, I've had excessively dry eyes. But staring at a freaking phone and my computer all day since COVID has not helped. So I'm like, okay, let me keep this close. Okay, I'm like trying. I'm seriously trying not to blink as much. But I can't help it. I am blinking so much. And now I'm blinking more because everyone's saying it.
I had no idea that you were blinking so much.
Me either. I didn't even notice it.
No, you know what? I've always noticed it. It's been like a little bit of a self-conscious thing, but like now that it's out in the open, like I don't get
self-conscious about blinking. I've never met someone that's self-conscious about blinking, dude.
If you choose to stream every day, which now Sam does, you can be self-conscious about nothing, because the chat will figure out what you're self-conscious about and just throw it at your face.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you can't have any vulnerabilities. You're just like, all right, whatever.
The streaming and the influencer stuff has made me like, I don't care about my insecurities anymore, because everyone's pointing out, and people are pointing out things I said like a year ago, and just like, oh, you remember when you said the shit? Like, I think when you start doing this stuff, you're either comfortable with yourself and you're not. If you're not comfortable with yourself, it's very difficult to make it in this game, especially like taking a joke. I think there's a lot of people who just can't take a joke, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's no way. I feel like there's no way in this business. If you can't take a joke about yourself, like, forget about it.
Yeah, dude. Not to mention, like, when you do social media, you got to get used to the arrow slinging that's going to come your way. Like, you can have, and this is what I discovered on Twitter, you can try to have the most nuanced viewpoint, but man, people will come after you, dude.
Yeah.
Chris Still's roasted about selling Palantir, bro. It's
3 years ago.
Like, who's coming after you about Palantir?
By the way, people told me at the LA meetup,
okay.
You said you're not answering any questions about stocks.
Okay, I'm not saying that I won't try to at least like entertain certain things, but everyone's just like, hey, Chris, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm just like, I'll give you my.
Bro, Chris, you are coming to the meetup to work, brother. You're not coming for fun. You
listen.
Same with you, Sam. You guys are gonna be working.
I paid for my own hotel. I paid for my own flights. Okay, I will come. I'm here to hang out with y'all. I will have good conversations with people. But I don't want it to end up, dude. I lost my voice last time and I couldn't leave. And the thing is, like, I'm too nice to just say, hey, listen, I gotta go. Like I don't have enough time. I almost missed dinner. Like I literally, what's his name? Got me the last car was leaving, and like, where's this fool? Right?
Okay, you got to be protective of your own time at that point. it's after 6 hours.
Yeah. Just I don't want to seem like an asshole to everyone and just rush everyone. It's just I like I said.
Dude, you've been on my channel for 4 years. People know you, so when they see you in person, they're gonna.
Yeah. No, I'll answer your questions. I'm not complete dick and be like, nah, bro, I don't talk about stocks. Get out of my I'm not gonna do that. But what I am gonna be is just like, hey guys, listen, you mind giving me a minute so I can grab a couple of, like I was fighting to get like a drink of water because my throat was like dry. Man, give me a minute. And well, some of these people I just wanted to be like, hey, how's it going? Thanks for following me. How's your family doing? What do you think I should be looking at? I want to ask them. I never got a chance to ask them, like, what's going on with your life? I met one guy at my meetup that I spoke to about half an hour. And you know what the conversation that I had? It was great. He worked for like a travel agency with Royal Caribbean, right? It was like,
oh, you must have loved that conversation.
Yeah, and I gave him my number and everything else because there's certain the conversations are two-way things, right? So a lot of people I wanted to have that kind of like conversation with someone too. Like I want to get something out of them and they get something out of me, and it brings about a good thing. Not to mention, look, no matter what I say, the market's going to do what the market does.
Well, a lot of people asked me about VG in the New York meetup, and
yeah,
it worked.
It worked. Here's my question to you: what kind of questions were you getting on it?
So obviously I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of it was more about why they watch the channel, and I asked a lot of people what I could do better and all that stuff. Like if you're coming to the LA meetup, you're gonna get interrogated by me because I'm gonna ask a lot of questions about why you consume the content. But I did the number one question I got from a market perspective was, do you think this is another bullish year? Like, do you think we can do 4 years in a row? And I think a lot of people are skeptical that we can go back to back to back to back, which I get it because we haven't done that since. I mean, realistically,
why not just do like a what is it called? Like just like a sit down and just people can ask questions and we could just answer it as a group to everyone instead of it.
Well, actually,
being everyone.
So I'm gonna talk to you after this because we are doing something like that this time. So
yeah.
I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah, only because I don't mind sharing that information. What I think it's just that if you do it 500 times in the same day, it becomes like it's repetitive. It's hard. So like everyone kept asking me about VG, and I was like, it's a long-term investment, guys. Relax, it's gonna be okay. And it turned out to be right. But once again, I have no control over Venture Global. All I know is long-term, it's gonna be great. But short to medium term, like there's no way anyone could have predicted this Iran conflict. Like if anyone came into this year saying, hey guys, I think Iran and the US are gonna go toe-to-toe, like was not there.
Yeah, for those that went to the New York meetup, we did have these table sessions, but it was just me. In LA, it's likely going to be more than just me, including Steve and Jason and maybe Chris. So if you are going, you'll get an email about it and you'll get some more details. By the way, speaking of the chat roasting you, Amit, I watch your content for the guest and news coverage, but I don't like you.
That's fine. Any engagement is engagement. That engagement is still engagement.
My haters, I love my haters on Twitter. I'm like, keep pumping this goddamn, like, it's like, oh, fuck this guy. He's an idiot. And I'm like, bro, as long as you follow me, I don't care what you got to say to me, bro. Keep that follower count going,
Okay, last question, then we got to get out of here. Again, thank you for joining Chris and Sam. I'll put their Twitters in the chat. Microsoft, I think that's a battleground stock. Chris, it hit a new 52-week low today. What are you thinking about MSFT?
Continue to buy. Microsoft is Microsoft. They're not going anywhere. People are just very down on software, but it's goddamn Microsoft. If you don't believe in Microsoft, the Windows side, you could believe in the Azure growth. You can believe in the OpenAI equity stake that they have. Microsoft is not going anywhere. Sure, in the short to medium term, I'm sure that they're going to be challenged. They might be put into the software penalty box. They might have to live in that software penalty box for some time, but they'll be fine. You're taking a very consensus view that Microsoft will be fine. Are you at all scared about that view? Or no, I think they have pretty good pricing power. They're pretty unique to what in the field that they operate. They've got strong cash flows that are not going anywhere. So there could be a period where we start to see some curtailing of CapEx and more focus on share buybacks, especially if Microsoft becomes cheap enough, in which case now you'll get giant acceleration in EPS going forward. I mean, it's not trading at an expensive multiple relative to its history, right? It's trading at a pretty fair multiple right now. So if you think about a fair multiple plus 15% CAGR in terms of growth because of just the strength in Azure, I think you could get a pretty decent return over the next couple of years. You know, the key is going to be patience right now. The other thing is when the market sentiment is this bad, where we're literally trading at, you know, peak fear, you typically have a broad sell-off. And that's when you really get to pick up a lot of great names on the cheap. So I think one of the things that I would be doing in this scenario right now, which is what I have been doing, is high classing my portfolio. People think that you have to wait till the end of the year to take a loss on certain things. You could just do it now. Just take the loss now and buy something that you have way more conviction in. You know, Stanley Druckenmiller mentioned this quite some time ago. He's like, my greatest strength is not holding forever. My greatest strength is selling when I feel like something is over, is over. And I just take the loss and I chalk it up and I'm just like, okay, time to move on. So I think sometimes we get married to our theses. And if the thesis is broken, don't wait until you get back to your break-even price to sell, because you don't want to, get that quote unquote, that loss, that realized loss. Like, oh my God, I lost, 30% on this one company. Because the thing is, you might be missing out on the run-up in a really strong company that you have more faith in, right? Does that make sense? Where you have a company like Microsoft and Meta and Amazon trading at, a lot lower values. You know that it's more of a sure thing that it's going to probably go higher than a company that's been sold off 70, 80% and has to completely turn around its business in order to just get back to where they were. So I think a lot of times right now, if you see the general market on sale, it's not a bad idea to high class the portfolio, go long into the things you really believe in and, absorb the losses where you can. And at the end of the year, you could be in a much better place. And probably by that time, you could even take some profits if you want to, and they could weigh against the losses that you have early in the year.
Sam, you buy Microsoft here or no?
I always buy the SP 500 or the VU and VGT. So that is a considerable portion.
You wouldn't buy it independent of the S&P?
No, I don't think I'd buy it independently. I think it would make sense to DCA into it, but you're never really going to call the bottom of these things. But I have software companies that I'm very bullish on. So I haven't continued to buy them because I don't like to buy stocks as they're just going down. I'll buy them as they start to recover. But essentially, software is the laggard in the market right now. So it's very difficult to initiate a short-term position on some of these companies, especially Microsoft and Salesforce and Adobe and stuff. You'd have to see some sort of reversal for it to come back. Now, I agree with Chris is saying, when the market comes back, some of these might actually come roaring back, but usually more times than not, the things that are leading today tend to continue to lead when the market does come back. And a lot of that has been semiconductors lately, and specifically in the packaging. Air test systems is up pretty considerably today, and that continues to be a leader in terms of performance. But I have been, I actually started to DCA in the background and custodial funds and everything, for my kids and my family, into some of the mega caps, mostly because the valuations have got more attractive. But when it comes to the big concentrated portfolio, it's not really something that I'm looking to add right now.
Chris, last two questions for you, then we will be out. Adobe and Meta. Are you adding to both of those, and has the thesis changed, or how are you thinking of this?
No, Meta is fine. Structurally, they're still very profitable. They have gone a little bit hard on the CapEx side, but they generate significant cash flow, so they're fine. I wouldn't worry about Meta. Adobe's kind of in this show me stage of things where the market is basically saying that Gemini Google just released a editing tool, right? So people are saying, oh my God, this is going to kill Adobe. It's going to kill Figma. I think Claude released something like that as well. So I think we're at this stage where there are software companies that are mature, that have inbuilt, that are heavy industry, they have this grapple hold on the entire industry. And people are assuming that when this new product comes out, it's going to be the end of the story for companies like Adobe. Now, this is where you're sort of in a risk. You're taking on risk, right? That Adobe can keep growing at a 10% rate compounded year over year and maintain its current margins. Is that going to be an indefinite reality for Adobe? I don't know. It just depends on what you think. Now, if you remember 2 years ago, you remember when people said ChatGPT came out and said, "Oh, Google search is dead." What happened? 4 years ago, people said, "Oh, Facebook, it's dead. They're investing too much in the metaverse. The metaverse is never going to work. All this spending that they're doing, it's just they're just blowing money." So many times, I think people come to this conclusion that these industries that could be disrupted very heavily and very easily with these new products that could or come online, and these guys have been able to survive it. Like Adobe has had to deal with this a couple of times. Like in the past, when Adobe used to sell directly software to people, like I'm sure Sam is old enough to remember back in the day with Photoshop and all this other stuff, you didn't like subscribe to Adobe. You literally you got a CD, you installed it on your computer, and then you had Adobe software, right? Then they moved to the cloud, and people were like, "Oh my God, no one's going to pay for subscription software. Like that's just dumb." And then Adobe was able to successfully transition to that. And all of this is happening in the current system right now, where everyone is sort of like moving to a hybrid model that's a little bit more like consumption based. And so people are saying that, you know what, there's going to be other companies out there that are going to have one shot Adobe, and that this new model of hybrid business model is going to eat away at their margins, and maybe they're not as profitable, maybe they don't grow as much. And as far as I can tell, and the research that I've done, I haven't seen people like switch away from using Adobe that are in like the more regulated fields. Are there people that are losing ground on like the consumer end? Yeah, I think Adobe's like extracted so much value out of its customers that some customers have actually turned on Adobe and saying, "I'm going to go to an alternative." But I've also found out that a lot of people, they've switched back to Adobe because they found that the free alternatives out there and the ones that are discounted are not nearly as good as what Adobe is selling. And I think this AI thing, instead of it being a headwind to Adobe, I think it actually is going to lead to more consumption of Adobe's services through Firefly and all this other stuff. And it's the same thing with like ServiceNow. Like ServiceNow is in the same thing. I also noticed that about Zoom, by the way, and like WebEx. So I don't know if you guys have ever used, if you guys are in, maybe some of the people in the chat, you guys can talk about it, but I have a bunch of meetings that I have to attend to. And sometimes, I work at night, so I don't get to go to them during the daytime. Before, I would have to sit there 2 hours listening to a damn meeting, and like I really only get like 15 minutes that are actually the meat and potatoes of the actual meeting. Dude, ever since AI has come along, I've got a recorded transcript, I've got an AI summary of everything that I needed, and I'm spending now 10 minutes instead of listening to a 2-hour Zoom call that was recorded an hour, like a couple of days ago. Have you guys found that feature? You find it useful?
Yeah, I use third-party tools to do that, but pretty much the same thing.
What do you?
There's what's the name of that? I keep on forgetting the name of it because it usually just joins and like it's like a notebook or something. Otter AI, yeah, Otter AI. It joins your meeting and records the whole thing.
I wouldn't buy Zoom stock or even be interested in but your point is, Chris, they will be benefited from AI. That's the argument.
Right. So I think the notion everyone has is that AI is going to crush all of these software companies. I think it's more likely that AI features will get integrated into those companies, and the companies will do fine.
Yeah,
But
I mean, so far
commoditized though.
Yeah, and
That's
the market doesn't agree with
Zoom.
that. As much as Jensen is trying to say what you're saying, Chris, I mean, that's literally the question that I asked him. But it doesn't matter. Market doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
which is incredible to see. I wonder when they will.
Well, that's the thing. If we see Adobe over the next 2 years, you don't see a change in its growth rate. You don't see its margins deteriorating. Then obviously the whole AI narrative gets broken, right? Like like, let's say a year from now, we're looking at Adobe and its earnings are still growing. It's buying back a bunch of shares. Its margins are exactly where they were a year ago. The growth rate is 10%. Like last quarter, they actually had a re-acceleration in growth. They actually grew a little bit faster than what people were expecting. So let's say that happens. Then what are people going to say? you know? So I think that's where we are. We're in the show me stage of this current drawdown. So if you look at ServiceNow, like Bill McDermott said, look, we've got more business than ever. I don't know why you guys think that we're getting disrupted. What's wrong with you? You know,
Give my market cap back.
Huh? Give me my market cap back.
Give my market cap back.
Like I use ServiceNow. I don't know any alternative like products that are out there that my company is like itching to change to. Like, plus we have 10 years worth of data on our ServiceNow right now. That's invaluable to us. That's not going anywhere, and all of that data is proprietary. So I'll tell you, in my opinion, I think this AI is going to kill software narrative is sort of overdoing things, and I think that's why we're actually getting some of the opportunities that we are. Now, I do think that the multiples on software are going to be impaired long term. I don't think that you're ever going to really see like a 35 PE, 35 forward EBITDA multiple on a software company unless it's like crazy valuable like Palantir, unfortunately, which can sustain a higher EBITDA for now.
Told you at 130, it was time to nibble.
Nah, bro, it's all right. It's gonna go back down to 50. You'll see. It'll be a while. It'll be a while. But I will be proven.
Why are you pissing off the SoFi community so much? What's going on?
I didn't piss them off. They got pissed off at me. I was trying to be nuanced. I just said, look, Muddy Waters is bringing up a decent point. People are gonna have to weigh the risks with it. Fuck you, man. You hate SoFi. I'm like, all right.
They're not even short the stock. They have out of the money puts on it.
Yeah, I didn't even. That's the first thing that I said. I said I'm not long. I'm not short. I just think that it's fair value. Oh, that means you fucking hate SoFi. You think SoFi is? I'm like, bro. If a short seller comes out, you should pay attention, and the market does pay attention to these things, and it's just gonna re-rate the multiple lower by a little bit. Just calm down, calm your tits. But man, the SoFi community went after everyone hard. And then everyone's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then I got all these responses that no, they're doing everything according to like ASCII and, their value is fair. And I'm like, bro, I'm not saying that what they're doing is illegal. All I'm saying is the market is going to look at this in the current broader context of what's going on with private equity and private loans and everything else, I'm going to say, do we really want more exposure to all of these loans that are out there right now? Like,
which is a weird thing is that even their clients are not high risk, but yeah, that's what the markets are running with right now. That's the unfortunate. It's like the whole thing with software, right? Like clearly with ServiceNow and Microsoft, like the market's wrong about it, but I'm looking at the tape. The market's not wrong. The market is always right generally. And it doesn't matter what bull case you come up with if the market's just selling it off.
Okay, you have all of this money moving out of private credit, right? Who do you think buys these loans from SoFi? Who are the buyers? Tell me.
Blue Owl.
It's private credit. It's private credit. So on one hand, you see private credit retreating, and you don't think that's going to impact your loan book in terms of getting new loans bought by them?
But it hasn't come to fruition yet. It's more fear-driven right now. But the day it does happen is when it's going to become an issue, if it does.
Right. And but when fear comes into the market, multiples compress, right? That's all I'm saying. And yet people are just like, you don't know anything, blah, blah. You hate SoFi. Bro, I don't hate SoFi. Okay. I just think it should be valued closer to a fucking bank than some magical fintech that's got the secret special technology that makes like rainbow farts. Like, no, like just give it a bank multiple and call it a day. Like, chill, The
metaphors you come up with are just crazy.
Man. It's like
I think why people took it seriously, and I agree. I think they were a little too aggressive against you, but they took it seriously because the stock's down so much, and now you have a short report, and people have a lot of money in this thing, especially retail, right? So it hits a nerve when.
Listen. I get it. Totally get it. Trust me. When you think I'm here like, oh my God, like I'm down on my cruise lines. Oh, you know what? Anyone who says anything bad about cruise lines, I'm gonna go attack them on social media. You think I'm sitting here and be like, no, bro, you don't believe in it? How could you not believe that people don't want to go on cruises anymore? Like, nah, man, just.
I'll tell you something. Airlines and cruises are gonna come back if oil drops. It's gonna come back.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
No.
It's already
that's-
up 1.7% after CCL.
You just have to be. I'm just trying to be rational. That's all, bro. It's fine. You know, it's like whenever you do social media and you talk about things, this is what you sign up for. It's okay. And this doesn't mean I'm saying go and sell all your SoFi, go super long on. So I'm just saying, hey, this and you know what's funny? Everyone's like, some people are like, Chris is just trying to farm engagement. I'm like, what do you think freaking Twitter is? Twitter is just engagement farm. Like, what do you want me to talk about? You want me to talk about like how my day is going? No, I talk about what's going on in the market, dude.
That was the first thing you talked about when you came on the stream, though. You told us about your day.
Yeah, but that's because
That
you're
is,
my
that's the
boys
first
and
thing
you're
you
my
said.
friend. You're my boys. Like, you think I'm gonna go on Twitter and be like, I went to the DMV today. I had a great experience at the Norcross DMV. Thank you, everyone. I mean, I posted. I'll be honest. Sometimes I want to like post stuff out of my heart. Like I had a corgi that passed away a couple of years ago. Did you guys see that clip of the
see
dog?
that, yeah.
Bro, if anyone's thinking about getting a dog, if you can deal with the fur, get a corgi. Those are the best dogs ever.
Those are very smart dogs, too.
Yeah, they're awesome, dude. I miss my dog, man. I want to get another dog, but I don't know if I could deal with it anymore. Like me and the wife, it's just hard. Like we're always working and going out and doing stuff. And when you have a dog, it's like having a kid, man. So, yeah.
All right. That is it for us. Thank you all for joining. Sam and Chris's Twitter in the chat. Chris, thanks for joining, even though you fell asleep. We appreciate you hopping on afterwards and giving us some analysis. And yeah, guys, ceasefire is the biggest news of the after hours. We'll see if Trump confirms it tomorrow. If he does, maybe the markets can seriously price in a closer end to the war. And if that happens, maybe we rebound over the coming days.
There's one telling sign that I think this could actually be a good, like it could end. I thought that we could have a significant amount of the back end of the curve on oil go up. It's not. It's actually pretty flat. It's gone up, but not a lot. So I think like this. I think everyone believes that Trump is going to taco, and that this is going to be over faster than people think. And it is a midterm year. So if I had to guess, and what's funny that I was listening to today, Trump mentioned something about the Democrats. Trump said the Democrats are doing this whole thing with DHS because they want to win the midterms. That was a signal for me that he's paying attention to the election now. And if someone is paying attention to the election and he knows he's got to like at least keep himself somewhat grounded during the midterms, he's gonna have to get the economy. Because remember what I think who said it? Like, it's the economy, stupid. Like, if you have a bad economy, bro, you're the incumbent party, you're gonna get destroyed. So I think if you just game that out, I think that the administration is now being more and more pressured, especially if you look at the Republicans, they're gonna get slaughtered. And the last thing Trump wants is both sides of both the House and the Senate to go down to the Democrats, because then he's going to get impeached and he's going to have to live through that for the next 2 years. Again, he does not want to deal with that shit again. You need one of those branches on your side. And right now, Trump is in the position to lose both. So I think he's more motivated right now, even if the other countries are kind of saying, no, you got to finish the job in Iran. I think he's more incentivized to end it sooner rather than later.
I agree with you.
All right.
Now time will tell to see if that happens. Chris, Sam, and myself will be at the LA meetup. It's happening on Saturday. Again, super excited for it. Hope to see people there. If you are going, please get to TSA early because it looks like it's going to be a long time. Chris, last real quick question, 30 seconds. Any thoughts on the 10-year going higher?
Uncertainty around inflation, so the 10-year is going up. Now, the one good thing about the 10-year is that the people are saying that is the indicator for Trump on when he tacos, quote unquote.
Which it historically has been, right?
Yeah. When it starts to spike and gets like to that 4.3, 4.5 level, he tends to be a little bit more happy to reverse on things, because the challenge with the 10-year is that the 10-year controls long-term borrowings. So right now, housing, if you look at the 30-year mortgage, the 30-year mortgage is up to almost like 6 point something, 6.5, 6.6. And that could be really bad for a lot of people. So one of the things is like you need longer term inflation to come down, and the 10-year is a representative of that. So, you know, I like I said, I think the market is saying to the administration, listen, we are willing to support you to a certain degree, but our patience is wearing thin on how long we're going to believe that you're going to end this thing sooner rather than later. In which case, I think the administration, if they're able to end this thing in 30 days, I think the markets will rally off of that, because then what happens is oil prices will start to come down again. Oil will flow through the Strait of Hormuz. I think the administration and everyone will probably flood the market with oil to basically get prices back down again. And inflation should come down, and then hopefully we might get some cuts this year, because I think the cuts this year have been completely like priced out now. I think at this point no one is assuming any cuts for 2026, and I think the first rate cut might be in 27. So we came into this year thinking that we were going to get 2 to 3 cuts. So I don't know. We'll see.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody else. We'll see you back tomorrow on the Market Open. And for those that are going to be at the LA meetup, like Ed, Super Jesse, it'll be super fun. Excited to meet
Later,
you.
guys. Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good one.